Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Kyle's Corner. It has been a while. I am stoked to go through everything and, actually talk to people. I'm using my PC for the first time. I had finally hooked up a lab or a webcam to it. So let me know how my sound is. It says that it's good, but I would like some feedback on that. Hey, Ben, how's it going? Yes, I've had quite a crazy reading year, and I'm excited to talk about it. It's always weird getting into the swing of things when you don't have a guest. So it'll take me a couple minutes, I'm sure, to kind of get myself into the flow. Um, Ben, how are you? What book are you hate reading right now because it's modern? For anybody who doesn't know, Ben used to like fantasy, and he has since decided that if it's written after 1991 or something, that he can't like it, I guess. All right, thank you, Ben. So yeah, I read a lot of books last year, and I didn't really do much on the channel. I kept telling myself that I was going to, get back to doing this, but it was just like a crazy year. And every time I wanted to do it, I was just, doing other stuff. I had a lot of personal stuff going on. I'm having a baby in 5 weeks. I don't think I've announced that on the channel. A lot of people in the community know, but if you're just a watcher, or missed it by any means, I'm having a baby soon. So that's been a lot of preparation. And I started a new job, and I now do 988 suicide crisis helpline, which is a much different type of job in terms of what I also still work in a restaurant. So that has been a transition, but a positive one. I think it's been really good, but it leaves me no days off. So my time to do this has been less. Um, I don't know if I like seeing this on here without because on a laptop I'm looking right at the screen, but when I'm looking at this and I'm not looking at the camera, it really bothers me. So this might be the last time that I try this, but I just wanted to give it a shot and see how it worked, because it's kind of easier for me to set up than my PC or than my laptop. So hey, Chadia, how are you doing today? Ben has the greatest recovery for Fellowship of the Ring of all time. He gave it 1 star, and his review was the funniest thing I've ever seen. It was these modern fantasy artists are just so much better. People only like this because it's old. It's really just insane. Lord of the Rings, I just don't think it's just not at all. I really like being on the ground in the mind of the characters. And now he doesn't like being in the mind of the characters, and he's going back to reading it. And I'm really glad you are reading Lord of the Rings the right way, then. Hey, Samwise, you are not late. You are exactly when a wizard or a hobbit is meant to show up. Hello, professional bookworm. Hello, Bard. Hey, Theo, how's it going? Theo popped back up recently. I still have your top 10 video on my. I gotta watch it, man. I'm really pumped you're back. Yes, exactly. He hates modern fantasy. Does your current self know shit either, Ben? Um, hey, Jordan, nice to see you with your emoji that doesn't show up. So I have been reading a ton, and so I read a bunch last year, and I didn't set out with this goal. I just binged a lot of really long books in a row, and I was like, I just need in January last year a bit of a reset. So I just listened or read to a bunch of small, short books, and then that kind of continued into February, and then in March I was like, oh, I've now read more than one book a day. That's crazy. And then I just kind of kept going. And then I got to May or June, and I was still at that pace roughly. And I was like, this might be the only year that I could do 365 books in 1 year, a book a day. And so I kind of started to do that. And then, I found out my wife was pregnant, and I was like, okay, there's never going to be another year where I read this much, at least not for the foreseeable future. Because things are going to change quite rapidly here. So I was like, all right, this is going to be the year where I say that I read a book a day. And so I really prioritized that. And I would say how it changed my reading was obviously I prioritized shorter books, but I wasn't just reading books that were short for the sake of it. I have a lot of short books that I want to read, so it was mostly just instead of picking up the long, Malazan books or to Green Angel Tower, instead of those books, I would pick up other books that I've been interested in, or that people told me that were kind of short, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. So I really expanded my horizons in what I read this month or this year. I read a lot more horror than I normally do, because horror is shorter, and I've always wanted to read more horror. I read a lot more contemporary fiction. I read some romantasy for the first time. I read Sarah J. Maas, I think a couple others. And I also read more crime thrillers, and I actually got more into thrillers in general. I feel like I read 7 or 8 thriller books. And you know, it was nice to like get out of that and like find books in those categories that I like. Like I always liked horror, but apart from Stephen King, I didn't expand my horizons too much out of the way there. So I would say that it was really nice for me because being able to not focus on like, you know, reading those really big chunky books made me want to be like, oh, well, okay, this is a 7-hour audiobook of a book that I'm kind of interested in a genre I don't really read. I should give it a try. And so I did. And, you know, I think that mostly worked out. There was a couple misses, but I think it worked out for me. And yeah, Sam says, this is the last chance because I have a kid on the way. Listen, I could ignore that kid, Sam. Okay, you're assuming that I'm going to be a good father. And that is a very nice assumption. But I theoretically could ignore that kid and read books. That's all I'm saying. Yes, this Empire of the Vampire was in fact a victim of this. I didn't exclusively read short books. Like I did read some longer books, but Empire of the Vampire was just like a struggle. And I wanted to give it some attention, like to get like halfway-ish because there were parts of it I really liked. And I was like, this is just slowing me down. And I will actually, I swear, Jordan, I will return to it this year soon. Actually, I really want to return to it soon because I want to know if I want to keep those hardcovers or not. I did miss the chunky books. I really do. I even like, so I got to about 350, 360, something like that at the end of November. And I knew that I was going to hit the goal. So December had quite a few longer books in it. Like I reread Will of the Many and I read Strength of the Few. And I binged two of the last two Dungeon Crawler Carl books. So that that worked out for me. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull up my Fable here to like tell you the breakdown of what Fable tells me the types of genres I read. So yeah, Samwise, I am going to definitely be reading longer books this year. I actually, almost all my buddy reads this year are long books. So I just screwed myself. I think I'm just gonna like, because I don't usually focus on numbers. Like you see this number this year, I'm like, oh yeah, 365. That's the first time I've ever focused on a number, except for 2018 when I first tried to read 100 books. So I'm really not a numbers guy, even if it sounds like it is this year. And so, or last year. So this year, I'm really just gonna read what I want to read and read when I have time. Like I'm in the middle of like 3 huge books right now, and it's great. And it feels like I've made no progress, but I do love the chunky books. So I had a great time rereading Will of the Many, Dave. Nice to see you. I don't like Storygraph. Actually, that's not true. I really like Storygraph, but it screwed me up. And I started Fable, and I like Fable, and I can't have 3, so it is what it is. Momo Jan says, Kyle, I want to tell you that I'm reading Catcher in the Rye because you love it so much. I am liking it too. If this isn't a joke, I actually hate Catcher in the Rye. If this is a joke, it's a good joke, so I appreciate you. I do really, you know, Vera really loved that book when she was on, and she really explained, and I just like seeing the emotion somebody has when they love a book. Yeah, I figured it was a joke. I just wanted to clarify just in case it wasn't. But yeah, seeing the emotion that she had in that, I was like, you know what, I really do want to give this a reread. And my wife recently mentioned wanting to read it because she knows how much I hate it and she thought it would be funny. So maybe we will buddy read that. That would be fun because I will probably disagree with her. So Fable last year, this is the breakdown of genres that Fable gave me. And, you know, that's very finicky. Like I would probably disagree with a lot of there, but this is just to give you kind of a sense. It said I read 127 fantasy books, 65 sci-fi, 63 thrillers, 60 literary fiction, and 48 fiction. I don't know if it has more under that or like, and that's like such a broad categorization. Like horror isn't even listed, and I would imagine most of those thrillers are actually horror. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good spread. Like, you know, fantasy is still my go-to. That's still the stuff I love. And I might not have prioritized epic fantasy as much, but I still read a lot of fantasy, and I did a little bit of epic fantasy. So it's not like I completely abandoned the genre. And I read a lot more sci-fi this year because sci-fi has a lot of really short books, especially if you get into the more classics, which I was trying to prioritize because I feel like I'm less well read in them. You know, I've been hearing a lot about this guy, George R. Martin. I've been seeing him on, I just don't think he's going to be for me. Like, I just don't ignore all this. Just don't. And yeah, in 2025, I also read all of Martin's backlog, which was kind of like my project for the year. And I held myself accountable by like making live shows about it and stuff, which was a lot of fun. And, you know, Bookborn, like separately, but together, we ended up reading, like she had mentioned she wanted to do it. And I think I mentioned that I was going to do it. And she's like, oh, I actually am going to do that this year. So then we read pretty much all of them at the same time, although I think she read Windhaven like 2 months before I did. And that was a lot of fun. And a lot of people really like joined in with us, and we got a lot of like people reading more of his back works. Like I've seen a lot more people reading Windhaven and Fever Dream this year, which, to be clear, I am attributing to Bookborn and Jimmy, because they both love it and people listen to them. I don't think I am the reason, but I like to think that I helped. And maybe, just maybe, Bookborn wouldn't have read Windhaven until next year. And because she read it this year, more people read it this year. Maybe. That's all I'm saying. Who knows? I'll take 10% of the credit. I'm looking so forward to the Duncan Egg show. I'm very excited. I have 20 pages of The Hedge Knight left on my reread, and I just love it so much. Yeah, I actually do think I'm unfair to Catcher in the Rye because I read it in high school, and I want to give it another shot. It doesn't have an audiobook, which it's hard for me to dedicate my physical reading to a book I think I would hate, but I do want to prioritize this. Yes, Windhaven, Fever Dream, and Sand Kings are phenomenal. Hey, Ian, nice to see you. Oh, well, thank you, Professional Bookworms. I'm glad you're going to read Windhaven because of me. And when you love it, you can say this to me again. And if you don't like it, that is fine. It is, in fact, Jimmy's fault. The Duncan Egg show does look fantastic. Okay, so I don't know. I'm going to stop and like look at comments and stuff, but I do want to start getting into some of this stuff because it's a lot of talking. And I am doing a top 30 today because I started to do a top 10 and that was just absurd. Like, and I know top 10s are the things, but it's less than 10% of my reading. It is what it is. I'm going to do a top 30. I'll try to talk about the ones like on the bottom half of the list for less amount of time, just kind of give you a quick overview. And I also think that the top 30 demonstrates how like diverse my reading was this year. Like I think it gives a bigger sampling of what I read and the types of things I was interested in, more than the top 10, which like for the most part, the top 10 are like some of my favorite authors and a couple surprises. So my stats here are I read 381 books last year. And I realized I didn't put what Goodreads said my page count was, but I think it was like 124,600 pages, which is not my highest reading year because page count or like book number is finicky. So it's actually the third most I've ever read in a year. Because 2023, apparently I went wild and I read like 127,000 pages, which I wouldn't have known had I not gone back and looked. And then I think 2022, I also read like 500 pages more than I did this year. So while I read way more books this year than my highest year, it's my third highest reading year in terms of pages, which is, obviously the biggest indicator there. Okay, we have predictions here. Assassin's Fate number 1, Windhaven number 2. Well, we will see. I also did just like a couple other stats real quick, I was just curious for myself and I thought I'd share them. So 20 of the books that I read were rereads. Now, rereads, I almost exclusively only read rereads if I really like the book. It's rare. I think there's only 3 books I actually read this year again that I didn't give like enthusiastic scores to before. Oh, 4, because I reread some early Dresden books. So, but anyway, so rereads, they're not, they're pretty much always 5 stars, but not always. But so mostly I read new books this year. 135 books written by women. I felt like I read a lot more written by women this year, and so I went and counted. And 135 is a lot. I thought it was going to be a higher percentage. I think it's just because it's so easy to default to male authors when you're just like picking up stuff you already have around the house you're interested in. And, there's a lot of female authors that I am interested in. But I guess like it's just, especially with nonfiction. Nonfiction is like mostly men. Like I need to change that. But so that was 35% of my reading. So, I am not quite a woman hater. I am not Helen, but I could be better, I guess. And then 104 nonfiction. So I read 104 nonfiction books this year. They mostly were like between 2 categories. They were mostly memoirs or like vaguely political books, which, for obvious reasons, world's not in a great place right now. I wanted to stifle my rage, I guess. This is true, Jake. If I had binged Bujold, there'd be more women, but I will probably read a lot of Bujold this year, so then I will have more women this year. I had 9 DNFs. So 9 DNFs that I logged, which is different than just picking up a book. So that's on top of the 381. So it's 9 other books. So I guess it would be 390, but I don't count those books as fully read. So, I mean, it's different. I DNF books all the time, but most of the time it's like a library loan. and I have 7 days left in it, and I start it, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm super interested in learning about sharks today. And then I get like 10% in, and I just like abandon it. And it's not like anything to do with the book. It's like a timing thing. So I DNF constantly. I never count those. So that's all, you know, who knows how much that would add up to otherwise in books. But not the 9 DNFs that I logged were books that I got like far enough in that I wanted them to be logged as books that I read in case I, you know, 5 years from now or whatever, I forget that I tried them. And I was like, oh, so I didn't log them like as currently reading. I just marked them as read with no rating. I'm not going to go over them, but it's like Empire of the Vampire, When the Moon Hit Your Eyes by John Scalzi. I can't think of the other ones off the top of my head, but there was 9, so not too many. Kyle Hates Women confirmed. 135 books by women, Jordan. That's ridiculous. Thank you, Ian. I think almost all of my nonfiction was on audio, because that's a really good way to get more nonfiction in. I think I maybe read like 3 physical books for nonfiction. So I also did a couple of awards, and these are books or like things that aren't going to be covered in the top 30. But I did want to highlight them in some way. And I'm not going to do, this is not the Nutties. This is not the Tubies. This is not the Philip Chaseys. This is not the, I don't know who else does book awards, but this is low-key. I'm not even going to do nominations. It's just, here's the best, and here's the one that I gave it to. Yeah, John Scalzi, I don't know, man. I have not liked his books that much. And then I actually just bought, oh, it's too high up for me to reach, but Indigo had a Black Friday sale for the 3 I don't know, like the Collapsing Empire, The Last Empirics. I don't know. He has a trilogy of crap, and it was on sale for $7.50. And I was like, well, I have them on audio, so maybe if I have them physical, I'll prioritize and get them out of my queue. But I don't think John Scalzi is the author for me. The Year of Jordan Patterson. Why would I do this to myself? That's insane. Okay, so the first award that I'm doing is Best Short Fiction. I read a lot of short fiction this year. And by short fiction, I don't mean short stories. I just mean like a novella. I should have put that actually, unless I read the short stories separately. So if it's like a short, like I read a lot of George R. R. Martin short stories, but they were all in Dream Songs. So I would count Dream Songs as like a collection, if that makes sense. But I read a lot of like novellas and stuff like that too. And it's really hard for me to get novellas in the top 30 because they have to be extremely good, just because I want more usually. So I thought I would highlight this. There were a couple that really stood out to me, but the one that I chose is The Scour by Richard Swan. That one came out like in October, I think. It's a prequel novella for the Legacy, or the Wolf series, the Justice of Kings. Empire of the Wolf is the name of the trilogy, which is a terrible name. And The Scour is what I think a lot of people really wanted from that trilogy that they didn't get. Like people who weren't satisfied with it becoming more horror and like epic fantasy and like a lot more. He threw a lot of things into that series. But The Scour is a prequel where they just go around solving mysteries, and like they're in a town and there's a murder and there's some necromancy stuff and there's some creepy stuff happening, and they just solve the murder. And I thought it was a really good story. It was exactly what I wanted from those characters. Like when you want a prequel, I think people really try to get prequelitis and be like, well, you see, he this is the guy that said the thing, so then his name's Han Solo because he's Solo. Like, like just relax. It's not like that. So The Scour is, I feel like, really good at seeing where these characters, like there's still growth from there to Justice of Kings. But it didn't feel like he didn't just like wink and be like, but see, I'm gonna get that orphan to be my clerk because Helena is not in this. So I thought that was really good. I really liked it. Yes, I agree. Horrible series name. Just doesn't work at all. Not intuitive at all. I think it should have been Justice of Kings for sure. So then I did Best 2025 Debut, and I actually should have grabbed the book. I skipped a part of my stats here. I read 102 new releases this year, which actually I was very surprised about. I didn't realize. I tend to get like when I open my library app and it's like a Tuesday and there's new releases, I tend to get the memoirs that come out like right when they come out, because I'm like, I don't want to wait 9 months to learn about what happened to Jeremy Renner. I want to listen to it now. So I tend to listen to memoirs pretty quickly after release. So that's like a fair amount of them, but I still read a lot of new releases in general. So 102 books released in 2025, which is crazy. even I think that was more than I expected. So best 2025 debut is to kind of focus on like a book that I thought was like a really good first book, but didn't quite make it to the top of the top. But actually, this book that I put was on the top 30 for a little bit, and it just kind of got shuffled off. And so I was like, this is a good place for it. And so the book that I'm giving as the best 2025 debut that I read is A Song for Legends Lost by M.H. Ayindi. I hope that's how you say your name. This is the Illumicrate version that I really like this version. This version is so cool. Just like, you know, Illumicrate books for their like special box or whatever are really nice. Like, and yeah, I'll show it off a little because why not? It's here. So this book was released in May. I think the next book is coming out in like April of next year or something like that, or this year, sorry. And I really like this book. It did have pacing issues in the sense that it's multi-POV, and they would put like they would do the thing that like Game of Thrones does, where they would like put, or I don't know what I'm saying. That doesn't make any sense. What I'm basically saying is that the POV structure in this book is not right. Like it will just make a whole 40% where you don't catch up with the character at all. And then I'm like, why didn't we get that character at all during that time? But I do think A Song for Legends Lost is really good. It's like post-apocalyptic to a degree. There's some stuff I guess I can say, but it reminded me a lot of Horizon Zero Dawn. If you guys have played that video game, I think this is what you're looking for. If you like Horizon Zero Dawn and you want it in book form, it's not going to be exactly the same, but it will be give you some similar. And I was buddy reading it with some people, and two of those people also picked up on those vibes separately. And I think I saw Petrick's review also say that. So that's not just me. It does feel a lot like that. There's like tribal warfare. These people can summon their ancestors, like to fight for them, and the ancestor is really strong. And then like each member of the tribe or like the genetic ancestor group has to like do a trial or whatever to decide who would get it. And then the main character, you know, isn't supposed to get it. People think that he isn't good enough, and then some shenanigans happen, and you know, I guess you got to read the book to find out what happens after that. Okay, I'll look at some comments real quick. Man, this is a lot of talking. Okay, so I will give you some best nonfiction so that you can be smarter. Ian, you're very smart. You just don't read books. This is so good, Mitch. I shouldn't have read his book. I should have just read the Jeremy Renner app to find out all the things happening with Jeremy Renner. This is a deep cut meme. I don't think people talk about this anymore, but it was hilarious when it happened. Oh, professional bookworms, Mitch beat you. I don't remember Jeremy Renner's hot sauce in The Glass Onion, but Jeremy Renner was good in the third movie. Yes, I agree that Edition is gorgeous. I don't think I've seen one of these Lumicrate like epic books that I didn't think was really, really cool. Like they all look good. But I just don't think they do enough books that I'm interested in for me to have the subscription. I actually just got that book because I needed a subscription to get the like Illumicrate Farseer editions. So that happened to be the month that it was, so it worked out well. I need some water. This is a lot of talking. Okay, best completed series is actually not a fun one because I went through. I thought for sure I finished some good series. The technical answer is Realm of the Elderlings because I finished Assassin's Fate on January 2nd, but I read like the last 100 pages. So I don't think it's fair to be like, yeah, that's the best completed series, and I finished it right at the end. But yes, far and away, that is my favorite completed series. But for the most part, the other series that I finished this year, I didn't actually love. Like it was finishing like mid stuff. So I guess the best that I read, and I still think that this is a strong series. I recommend it. It just wasn't like an all-time favorite. Was the Gale Song trilogy by Shauna Lawless. I finished that up this year. The third book is like The Land of the Living and the Dead, I think. And that's like Irish Celtic mythology set in the 11th century, I believe, in Ireland. And it follows these two different styles of magic wielders that have been at war for a really long time. I assume they're based on Irish mythology, but I don't know for sure. And how they've like been slowly influencing Irish politics. And the main two characters are these different female characters of like each side of the Cold War between these two sides, I guess. And the one reminds me a lot of Cersei Lannister, and the other one is like a healer A good series. I really liked it. Not a favorite, but it was the best. By quite a bit, it was the best series that I finished this year. So yes, like it gets the award, like it does, but it feels like a cheat. So it's like 1A and 1B kind of thing. Like, yes, Elderlings is so much better than any other series I read by a lot. Fool's Errand is so good. I love Fool's Errand. Good luck. Tawny Man is so good. I'm currently on the Rainwild Chronicles. I mean, the Rainwild Chronicles are good. They're not as bad as people tell you they are. Okay, best new author. And the way I attributed this is not like, because there's somebody high on the list that I had only read them from this year, so they would inherently be the best new author just by the way of the phrasing. But for me, best new author is author that I discovered this year that I'm most excited to check out more books from. And so I chose Catriona Ward, who I read The Last House on Needless Street in like October or November and was blown away. That book is incredible. Absolutely crazy. I listened to it on audio and like the audio was really good, but it's just such a crazy book that I really want to read it again physically soon because I just think I missed some of the stuff. I'm like, I don't really understand what's going on here. And I was like locked in. Like, it's not like I was passively listening. I was like, this book is crazy. Like, I think I listened to it in like barely a day. And I was like, oh my God. And it's so the premise for The Last House on Needless Street is there's this guy who lives on Needless Street and so a girl has died and it kind of echoes a previous girl who's gone missing. And people think that this guy, Ted, might be the guy that did it. He's sketchy. And so you get Ted's perspective and you also get Ted's cat's perspective. And Ted's cat's perspective is incredible. I mean, the Ted stuff is good too, but just a very unique book. I really liked it. And I'm currently buddy reading with Ian, Jordan, and Alex, tall guy who does not exist on YouTube anymore. Her new book, Nowhere Burning. I think it comes out in like March or something like that, and we're all buddy reading it. Ian just finished it. So this is an author that I am already committing to trying more from. And I actually picked up Sundial from her recently. So that's probably going to be the next book that I read from her. I really love this cover. What a good cover. So Catriona Ward. And I'm also excited to find like a new horror author that I'm really into. Yeah, Jake, you should read this book. I think it's like you haven't read enough horror for me to know if the whole book will land on with you, but you will for sure. Like the cat POV is so good. So for instance, the cat POV, like the main guy's name is Ted, and so the cat calls humans Teds because that's the only thing. Like it only knows the name Ted. So to be like, oh, some Ted came to the door and delivered some papers, and it's just like, I don't know, just the cat POV is great. Shadow of the Wind. That is a good book that I read this year. It could be on this list. I guess we'll never know. Biggest glow up on reread. So again, this one's difficult. And I would not have even included this category except of how much this book went up on reread. It's very rare for me. Like I said, 20 rereads. I think almost all of them are books that I really loved. And then the books were like Dresden books that were early that I knew were going to be mid, but I just wanted to get the information against. And the biggest glow up on reread is The Color Purple by Alice Walker. I read that in 2017, which was a very difficult year in my life, and I read it physically. And so the book is told through like letters that, or maybe like diary entries that the main character is doing, and it's like in the the antebellum South, I think is the time period around there. And so it's a younger Black woman who is uneducated, and so she writes in the grammar in which she would speak. Which I do think, like, I understand why that would be the case, but it just like me not having a good year and reading it physically, like my brain just broke with this grammar. Like I hated the book, and I was like, technically a lot of really poignant, interesting, terrible things are happening, but the grammar just broke my entire sense of that book. And then this year, Bookborn read it, and she was like, "This book's incredible." I was like, "I think it's kind of mid." And she's like, "No, it's incredible. You're wrong." And I was like, "Well, it might actually work better on audio." So I decided I would try it on audio just to kind of gloat that I actually do think it's mid. And it was incredible. Absolutely incredible. It works so much better for me on audio. This is why you do audiobooks sometimes, folks. Be open to audio because, man, that when not like hearing her say it worked so much better for me than trying to parse out like the different spellings and the stuff like that. And what a powerful book. Just so good. Extremely powerful. and very sad, very, very sad book. It is not lighthearted in any sense of the word. I might hate women, but I was never racist, Ian. Careful. Hey, Evie, nice to see you. You are perfectly on time, Evie, because this is going to go forever because I haven't even started the goddamn top 30 list yet. This is crazy. Best memoir. So actually, I did split this. And I split best memoir and best nonfiction. Even though just a couple days ago I did a rant about how memoirs are inherently nonfiction. It's just that like memoir is a different category of nonfiction, and they're hard to relate to each other. So best memoir, I read a lot of them. There was a lot of good ones. I did The Sun Does Not Shine by Anthony Ray Hinton as my favorite memoir, which might be one of my favorite memoirs of all time. Excellent book. Anthony Ray Hinton was imprisoned for life for a murder that he did not do, that there was no evidence for. He had video evidence, I think. I can't remember that. He had confirmed evidence that he couldn't have been in the place where they thought the crime was, but he was black and poor, and they were just like, throw him in jail. And he was in jail on death row, I think, for a long time. And he was in jail for something like 30 years, something like that. And then he got out and he wrote this book. And I have to say, it is incredible. I cannot believe how much I like Anthony Ray Hinton. Like, the dude is so positive and so thoughtful. And just like near the end of the book, he's like, I'm not going to be angry about the fact that they took 30 years from me, because if I was angry, they would be taking the rest of my life from me. And my life is for me. Like, I'm going to live the rest of my life, and I'm choosing to not live it angry. And just, I don't know. I was extremely moved by that book. And I actually have, I think I read it in like May. And I have actually thought back to that book sometimes in times of like stress. And I've been like, you know what? Some people have it so much worse than me, and they see the bright side. And so I can get over myself. And so I highly recommend that. Even if you don't read memoirs, I think the book is incredible. And then best nonfiction, again, a lot of them were political, and I don't super want to get into politics, but also this book was just the best one anyway. So I did Being Wrong, Adventures in the Margins of Error by Catherine Schultz. Really good book. It's about how people change their view on how they're wrong all the time. So for instance, we might intellectually know that we are wrong. Like we might, yeah, like I've been wrong in the past, I've something, but over time, we tend to use euphemistic language that softens that. And so like, instead of saying like, I was wrong, we'll be like, oh yeah, like I changed my views, or like, you know, like I didn't have all the information, so all that kind of stuff. And so over time, we've become more psychologically distanced from the times in which we were wrong, which makes it like our emotional truth is that we're not wrong as often as we think that we are. And so when we talk, we feel like we are more likely to be right. Because we're not wrong very often and other people are. And so it goes into all these different things about how people are wrong more than they think, obviously, and like the different ways in which people are wrong, or the way that they interpret information in a way that biases them towards something or against something. Just like a really interesting book, and made me really think about like how both myself but also other people interact with the world and like talk. And I think it's relevant to how internet discourse and discourse in general goes these days without being too on the nose, because it was written in like 2019. Yeah, I will say I told Jake about this book at Worldcon when we were talking, when we were like, I was reading it at the time, and Jake literally goes like, I don't think that I've ever done this. Like, I'm pretty sure that I just like, if I'm wrong, I will admit that I'm wrong. And I'm like, well, Jake, I don't know. This is what the book's telling. Yeah, exactly. Mitch, it's not for you. Yeah, GGK. And Philip Chase. Philip, your second favorite author is reading your first favorite author from the year. That's good. I'm excited for the Philip Decides GGK's phenomenal phase. Okay, so 1 second here. All right, best character. I read a lot of very good characters. So this one was actually really difficult. I had to like narrow down what my premise for this was, which is I chose two characters for different, and you'll see why one only kind of counts. I chose two characters, and the premise was that this is like the reason I'm reading the book. Like, if, you know, there can be a lot of really good things happening in a book. I can really love all the characters. I can love any, like the prose, the plot, whatever. But I'm like, this book is on the power of these characters, and then it's also like the ones that I like the most out of that subset. So the first character I chose was Enzo from The Art of Always Racing in the Rain. Enzo is a dog, and the book is told from his perspective, and Enzo is the best dog of all time. Just hands down, just incredible. Enzo's whole thing is that like he's really smart, and so he'll like watch TV and like learn about humans because he thinks that like I guess in his I don't know if it's like a dog religion or just like his own brain, I can't remember, but he thinks that when he dies, he will be reincarnated into a human if he lives a good life. And so he's first of all trying to live a good dog life, but second of all, he's trying to learn more about what it means to be human so that when he becomes human, he will live like a good human life. And so he'll like watch the news and like he'll do things that like he tries to understand the humans, but like he's a dog, so like he just like gets a lot, he just doesn't understand a lot of stuff. But he is a very smart dog. Just love Enzo to pieces, and like he makes that book. Like that book is worth reading to get Enzo's perspective. And then the second one I chose for a very different reason, but similar thought process, is Mary Pat from Small Mercies by Dennis Lehane. Incredible book, super good. Small Mercies. Mary Pat is like probably in her 50s. She's like an older woman, and I want to say Boston, and her daughter goes missing, and she decides she's going to find her daughter because the police are crooked and stupid and pieces of shit, and they're not doing enough. So she, with no resources of her own, just decides that she's going to figure this out. And she's taking on like the mob, and she's just taking on all these gangsters. And she's like, man, like I want to know what the fuck's going on with my daughter. And you don't fuck with Mary Pat. That's all I can say. Like that character is so strong. Like that. Dennis Lehane is an author I read a bunch from, and I'm going to finish off his bibliography this year, hopefully. He writes good characters, incredible plots, really good prose. Like no complaints, except Since We Fell by Dennis Lehane is not a good book. But I will say Mary Pat is such a good character. Like I was just there for her. And Ian said Mary Pat, Jordan Mary Pat. Exactly, yes. You can't read this book and not know how great Mary Pat is. Hey Shad, how's it going? Yes, I was exaggerating a little bit, Jake. That is not quite what Jake said, but he was confused slightly at the premise, but he was engaging in good faith. Yes, I'm definitely reading the Coughlin trilogy this year, Ian. So definitely we can buddy read it because I'm going to read that. I think I'm going to read the next Kenzie and Gennaro book next, but that is like we'll definitely do this because I want to read it this year. Hey, StoryTube! I shouted out your guys' great awards ceremony stuff earlier. You guys are awesome. I don't know which one of you are here, if it's both of you, but love to see your faces. And yes, Mary Pat is awesome. All right, we are getting so close to actually doing this top list. This is, I thought I would go through this faster. I don't know why I thought that. I'm ridiculous. Best epilogue. So I created this one specifically because I wanted to talk about this book, and it didn't make the list. But the epilogue is absolutely phenomenal. And so I was like, I can't do best ending because best ending is an entirely different book. Not even fair. But best epilogue. Now, in this book, the epilogue of this book is so good and so incredible that it elevated the book to me entirely. Like when I think of the book, I think of the epilogue first, and then I think about the rest of the book. And it is, in fact, Written on the Dark by Guy Gavriel Kay. I think I have it right here. Yes, Written on the Dark, Guy Gavriel Kay. Phenomenal epilogue. The book actually, like, it is a good book. It is not as good for a GGK book for me. So, like, I gave it 4 stars. It didn't make the list of favorites of the year. And, it honestly would have been a lot worse without that epilogue. Like, the epilogue is incredible. It like perfectly ends the arcs of the secondary characters in the book that like it gives them more depth and meaning and purpose, but it also ties back to the Sarantine Mosaic and A Brightness Long Ago, which are my 2 favorite GGK like books, like Lord of Emperors and Brightness Long Ago. And it was just so poignant. Like Jake is absolutely right. Hey Mindlin, how's it going? Nice to see you both. Hey, Dan, how's it going? Nice to see you. Everybody needs Kyle Aid. Yeah, I knew you were here. I'm like, he's for sure going to know what it is. Fever Dream does have a really good epilogue. It's not close. It's absolutely not close. Yeah, see, anybody who's read this book knows this is the one. Truly phenomenal epilogue. And also, like, some people are going to hear me going off about this and be like, oh, now I'll pick up Written on the Dark as my next Guy Gavriel Kay. And you can. There's nothing wrong. It is not a sequel of anything. I'm not saying you have to read anything else first. What I am saying is that epilogue really plays off of things from Serentine Mosaic and A Brightness Long Ago. So if you want to gush about how great that epilogue is and how much it moved you, you should read those books first. Otherwise, you'll just kind of be like, okay, it was a good epilogue. I don't really see why he's freaking out about it. Oh, which one is this? I can't think of what another really good epilogue he's had. Like, I'm sure they're all good, but I can't think of what this might have been. The problem is I get coffee because I want to be able to talk and have energy, but then the talking gives me energy, and then I don't want to stop talking, so I don't drink my coffee, and then it gets cold, which is very sad. Most disappointing. This one's really sad, guys. I'm going to talk for a little bit, and I'm going to see if anybody can guess it. I was extremely disappointed by this. And this is not worst. This is most disappointing. This is the gap between want and expectations and reality. Oh, yeah, Lord of Emperors epilogue is incredible. Just insane. And so this was one of my most anticipated books of the year. And I don't think it is a bad book. I think it is a misguided book that didn't work out for me. And it's from one of my favorite authors. And I'm just so sad. I wish I had not. I wish I had better things to say. I don't know. I just love this author so much. And it is All That We See or Seen by Ken Liu. I'm just really sad, guys. I don't know. Like, it pains me to put this on here, but I feel like I'm so disappointed that I did want to talk about it because it just isn't up to anything else. I've read everything else Ken Liu has published besides, like, I'm sure, like, random short stories in places. And it just didn't, like, it's like nothing about it is bad. Like, I don't think it is a bad book. I do think some of the villain POVs are more ham-fisted than they maybe needed to be. But, like, it's fine. Like, the book is just fine. And it was supposed to be a novella, and then it was expanded out to a novel. And it has a clear breaking point at, like, the 60-ish% mark where the story's over, and then it does more stuff. And I don't even think, like, so Jake read the book, and Jake liked that part quite a bit, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jake. And I don't think that it was bad, but it was just so jarring and just, like, such a weird tonal shift. I don't know. I know a lot of people had issues with the switch. I think maybe it would have been better as a novella, but I don't know if I would have loved it anyway, but I maybe would have been easier on it, if that makes sense, because I care less about novellas. You know, I had to have had good, high expectations for Hunter's Run to matter. Oh, yeah. Memory of Light has a really good epilogue, but I do agree Lord of Emperors is better. I did not read Shadows Upon Time yet, Shad, but I am a little nervous for it. I knew you were gonna get it, Jake. Like I knew that you would get it. I cannot believe. Okay, so here, first of all, before I slander Esme is one of the greatest people in this community. She's fantastic. She's wonderful. She reads a lot. She has incredibly eloquent reviews, and she's incredibly nice. And I don't think she sleeps. I think she just watches YouTube videos and reads books. That being said, we have a feud of how many books we read in a year, and I beat her by 100 books. That's insane, Esme. How are you so bad at reading? This is, I honestly think you should stop doing whatever it is you're doing and read more books because it's embarrassing that I beat you by 100 books. You should get better at this. Yeah, like I know you weren't like loving the book, Jake. I just mean like I think I was more negative on that part than you by quite a bit. No, Jake. I was excited to get that Hunter's Run copy because it's a beautiful copy signed by 3 people, 2 of which I really like and 1 who's no longer with us. And part of me wants to sell that book, but I also like it's attached to my Worldcon memories, and I also think it is like a really nice book to own. So I'm not going to do anything with it yet. I'm going to keep it. But I did get rid of my regular hardcover of Hunter's Run because I did not like that book at all. This brings us right into worst of the year, and you guys think it might be Hunter's Run. And Hunter's Run is bad. Don't give me any. Hunter's Run is worse in comparison to how bad of a, like, it should be better. There's no excuse for Hunter's Run to be as bad as it is. It's 2 phenomenal authors and 1 guy I haven't read before. But how much can he derail a book? And the answer is a lot. He can derail a book totally and completely. Esme is way cooler than me. That is so true. Ouch. Look at this. This is so true, though. Esme, you're wonderful. I miss talking to you more. Okay, so worst is not Hunter's Run, though. It is, in fact, Saturn Run by John Sangbird and, oh my God, CTN? Yeah, I think that's the name. So I read this from our book club at work. So we have a work book club. And some people at work know that I have this channel, and I don't think they watch, but just in case, I will not talk too much about this. But this was our workbook club thing. It was the first sci-fi that most of the people in my work read, and it's mostly women in this group. There's two guys, me and another guy. The other guy chose it, and Saturn Run is about a bunch of astronauts trying to run to get to Saturn as much as possible. And so they're trying to beat the Chinese to get to Saturn by like getting, and the book is flat out terrible. Like I hate everything about it. It's not good. I suffered. There's no way I would have finished this book if it wasn't a book club book. And also, even if it was a book club book, I would have not finished it, except everybody else was hating it too. And so I didn't want, like, in solidarity, I was like, I should finish it. And also, like, I feel like because I started the book club, and if I didn't finish it, then everybody else would maybe not finish it. And I was like, okay, let's just. So, yeah, some of the worst men writing women stuff I've ever seen. Like truly, truly terrible. The sex stuff in here is just like, it's not even like a lot. Like I don't think, it's just weird. Like there's just like, it's just an abysmally bad book. And then the actually like going to Saturn, like what the book is about, I just found very boring. Like it doesn't work for me at all. It's just like them literally traveling to Saturn for like figuring out how to do it and then traveling to Saturn for like most of the book. And it's just like dry. It's like, well, we could solve this problem with this, while people are being like the worst. Just terrible. Didn't like it at all. This is the exact same reason I finished a couple. Yeah, exactly. Like, I have yet to DNF a book club book. I might at some point if I really am not feeling it, but that just wasn't going to be the one. Yeah, I ranted about this book and the circumstances around it quite a bit on Discord. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. It's terrible. Don't read it. Not reading anything else by either of those authors. Okay, that is all of those things. So we are finally at the actual list, which is ridiculous. Okay, so like I said, I did the top 30. I'm going to try to talk faster about some of these. I already mentioned a little bit. I'm going to try and talk faster about the ones near the bottom. So at 30th place is Power of the Dog by Don Winslow. This book should be higher. I think the highs of Power of the Dog are extremely good. I want to read so much more by Don Winslow. I have like a bunch of his books ready to go. The reason that I don't have it higher is that the sex stuff in this book is absurd. And like, it's fine that it's just so much. Like the sex scenes are so much. Like, and I don't mean like I've read books with more sex scenes. It's more that I felt like it was voyeuristic. Like I just feel like Don Winslow was like, yo, you know what this really needs? A really graphic sex scene right now. And it was all the time, and it was so long. Like, so I actually only gave it 4 stars. This is the only book on this list that I gave 4 stars, but I actually think I like the stuff that I like in the book a lot more than some of the next couple books. So it's like a weird place. That's why I put it on the 30th spot, because it was weird to, I didn't know how to rank it entirely. But the crime stuff in this book is phenomenal. There's so many good things, very good character writing. I do think the other thing that I had a problem, not even a problem with, is that when people talk about this book, they talk about the like epic world building. And I know like Josh from Red for Your Books was like, this book reminds me of Malazan, but in the real world, like it's such interest. And I just don't get it, guys. Like, I'm not saying it's bad by any means. It is just simply, here's some people in New York and they smuggle drugs to people in Mexico, and then there's some people over here, and then they do like I don't know. I don't get how people are like, the epic scope is the scope. I'm like, everything about like, I don't. Maybe that must have just been an expectation thing to me going into it. People were like, oh, like, it's just like, I just feel like I'm reading a fantasy book with like all these crazy, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I've just like watched too many crime things. Like I watch a lot of like crime shows and crime movies, and like it just felt like, yeah, of course, okay, well, if you follow the supply here and the drug lords here, and then there's this guy here, and then the cartel guys are in Mexico, and then there's the DEA agents trying to, like, it just all felt linear to me as like a natural thing to follow. But I do want to stress that most of this book is excellent. I just got so exhausted, and like, it is a brutal book. Like, there's a lot of like very violent things that happen in it. I just, part of it just gave me like the heebie-jeebies. I was like, dude, like, take a shower. Like, just let's move on. Yes, horny jail, definitely. If one does the crime, one should do the time, in fact. She is really well. The baby is due February 12th. So we'll see. She's off work and she is doing a lot better. She's transitioning to not having to work every day and just like be home, which is difficult for her. But in terms of like, you know, living her life and being 8 months pregnant, she is doing really well. So thank you for asking, Evie. I appreciate it. So 29. Oh, I'm gonna respond to this real quick. Yeah, that's fine. Like I mean, I totally, and actually, your review of the book, like when you were going through it, is part of the like reason I wanted to read it, Dan. I know it like really spoke to you, and like I said, I think it's a really good book. I don't think the book was too brutal. I don't even think like any sex, like it's not like I was like cringing and being like, oh my god, my delicate eyes, the sex scenes. It was more that it was like all that it just like the way they were described. I was like, dude is having too good of a time here. Like, can we? I don't know. It just, and that's like so individual, right? So it has nothing to like. I think it's a great book. I would highly recommend it to people if they can stomach the brutality and stuff. So, that's so early. It's her first baby. It's just not going to happen. But you never know. Okay, 29. I have a physical book for this one. It is The Searcher by Tana French. I read this book off the behest of Jimmy and StoryTube, if they are still here. I listened to it on audio, actually. I got this physical copy afterwards because of how much I liked it. I thought this was a really good book. I'm going to read more Tana French. I haven't read The Hunter yet. Really want to. Yeah, great book. It's like a guy who, I think he lived in Chicago, and he was a cop, and he retires to like the Irish countryside, and he somebody comes to him and is like, hey, my brother's been missing. I would like you to help me solve it. It's like a teenager. It's like a 13-year-old, I think. And he's like, no, I'm not. Police here. Like, I'm not. And he's like, please, nobody's listening to me. Nobody's helping. And so they kind of like form this friendship and they start like, you know, looking after his brother. Now, I will say, I don't think the mystery aspect is particularly good. Like, I think with mysteries, if you go into it expecting like a really good mystery and the mystery isn't as good, it can like leave you a little bit deflated. I wouldn't go into The Searcher expecting it to be a great mystery novel. I think the characterization is excellent. The prose is like, Tana French is great, a great writer. Like I was always so interested in what was going on there. Excellent writer. I loved both of the main characters. Like the climax was maybe like a little bit rote, but I just don't think we were really there for the mystery. You're there for like what's going on with this main character and how he's changing after meeting this teenager. And I read it a long time ago. I read it in like March, so I don't remember the names of the character. Cal? No, the main character's name is Cal. I don't remember the boy's name. Yeah, you know, StoryTube is good, but they could be better. The recommendations, you know, I guess they just gotta read more Brando Sando. You know what I'm saying? You know, get that magic system going. Okay, so 28 is a book club book is redeemed. Book club has been redeemed at spot 28 with God of the Woods by Liz Moore, which I don't have a physical copy of. This is just a mystery book. This is like this girl goes missing at a camp, and it's her brother went missing like 18 years or something, 13 years exactly before, and it follows like the police detectives trying to figure out what happened to this girl and like the girl's friends and some of like her like ex-boyfriend's girlfriend and the people that run the camp and all that stuff. And I would not say that this book like floored me in any way of like in terms of characters. I just simply thought I couldn't put it down. Like I read it very quickly. I was always interested to know what was going on. I thought all the characters were good, like serviceable. And there's like a lot of them, and I thought they felt different, which is good. And I just like simply like I thought the climax surprised me. I thought it was good. I was super satisfied by the book, and I don't know if I've been super satisfied by a lot of like mystery, crime, thriller kind of books. And then also it was the like second book we did in our book club, and then we like everybody in the book club loved it, and so we had like a really good discussion around it. And so I think that also like in my mind made me like it more. So yeah, it was a good book. I recommend it. Yeah, Sando and his magic system's top of the list always. 27, James by Percival Everett, which I do have a physical copy of, and for the life of me, I couldn't find. James is a great, excellent book. Percival Everett, I thought was going to be a new favorite after this, and I've read some more from him, and he's okay, so I read James, loved it. And then I read Erasure after. And I also really liked Erasure. And both James and Erasure had like one or two stylistic things that I just didn't love. That kind of like, I was like, oh, okay. And then I read two more Percival Everett books, Dr. No and whatever his first book is. And I didn't like them at all. So I'm still a little mixed on Percival Everett, but he's a phenomenal writer. Definitely should check him out. James was incredible. My problem with James is spoilery, so I can't really say it, but it's, you know, it's from the perspective of Jim in Huckleberry Finn. There's a decision that he makes like 3/4-ish through the way of the book that I thought didn't really amount to much. Like, it was a very bold decision, and then I don't think it was necessary. If like maybe somebody smarter than me explained why that he put it in the book, or if like I saw him talk about it, I would be like, okay, that makes sense. But to me, it just felt like the book would have actually been better without even doing this at all. And I know Carlos, who loves this book, agreed, although maybe it didn't bother him as much. But I remember us talking about that as being like a thing that kind of irked us. But yeah, excellent book. Isles of the Emberdark. I don't know what that is. I've never heard of this. I don't read Brando's handout. Fury of the Gods I read last year, so it will land nowhere, but it would land on mid. Totally agree. Yeah, absolutely. We had the exact same issue with James. It was a decision that didn't actually contribute to that theme. It could have been left ambiguous for me. Absolutely. But still, like, an extremely impressive book, and it's also like 260 pages or something. Like, I don't know. I was supremely impressed by it. The 26th spot on the list is The Women by Kristen Hanna, which I don't have a physical copy of. I had read 2 Kristen Hanna books before this. I read The Four Winds, like when it came out, and it was fine. And then I finally read The Nightingale because everybody raves about The Nightingale. And the Nightingale's fine. Like, the writing is actually really good. And then I'm like, I don't know, like, this is just every World War II historical fiction I've ever read. Like, it's fine. And then, you know, some of my coworkers told me that The Women was really good, and I was like, all right, like, the audiobook's available, I'll give it a try. And I actually love this book. I thought it was so good. The Women follows the Vietnam War, and the main character is in a military family, and she wants to go fight. Like, all of her generations of like brothers and uncles and dad and grandfather and stuff have gone to fight in war, and she wants to go to Vietnam, but she's a woman, and can women fight? I don't know. So then she decides to go there as like a combat vet. Like a medic, sorry. And her family, you know, obviously is like mad that she's doing this, like, you shouldn't be doing this, blah, blah, blah. And she goes to Vietnam, and she, you know, gets this unit, and she like helps soldiers and stuff. And then she comes back to Vietnam. And the book is really more about when she comes back to Vietnam and how these women are like completely neglected. Like, they were over there, but they weren't fighting, but they still saw atrocities. They still saw, they were in combat. They saw terrible things happening. And so a lot of them obviously had PTSD. Like, they had a lot of, you know, like problems. And nobody listened to them. Like, it's about how this woman comes back and she is changed by this war, and her family is mad at her for having gone in the first place and doesn't believe that she did anything worthwhile, and society isn't helping her. And, you know, she can't go to like even like the vet clinic or something, because they're like, you're not a vet. And she's like, I was over there, what are you talking about? And it's like all these things about how like she is struggling because nobody is validating the fact that she was over there and she did go through something horrible, and she did have trauma, but because she wasn't a soldier, does it count? Doesn't count. And so I was really moved by it. I thought it was an excellent book. Hey, The Women was written by a woman, okay? If The Women was written by a man, you might have an argument. Kristen Hanna is not a fictional woman, Jordan. Yeah, The Nightingale's mid. It's fine. Good writing. Also, there's a decision at the end of The Nightingale that I really, or like not a decision, there's like a thought process at the end of The Nightingale that I really hated. And I just left a sour taste in my mouth. Cracked says, every time I read a mid book, I move my reread of Realm of the Otherlings up. Looking back, 2025 had a lot of mid books. Can't say I'm mad about it, though. That is a really good way of looking at it, because I also need to continue my Realm of the Otherlings reread. Okay, 25, Jesus Christ, is Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. Okay, so I read a lot of books. We all know this. And one of the things that drives me nuts is people assuming that because I read a lot of books and I listen to audiobooks fast and stuff, that I don't retain what I read. And I think anybody who listens to me talk about books knows that that's ridiculous. Like, obviously, I'm going to forget some stuff because everybody forgets some stuff about books they read. But I do think I'm pretty good at remembering books I read, especially if I like them. And Something Wicked This Way Comes is interesting because it's on this list at 25, and I remember almost nothing about it. Like, I truly, and it's not because I don't, it's because it was so compelling that I listened to it all in one sitting. So I didn't have time to like really, and then, well, maybe it was two sittings, but one day. And it's also super trippy. Like a lot of stuff was going on that I didn't fully understand. It's about a carnival, and they're like counting down to, I think it's like October 28th or something like that. And this guy comes to town with the carnival and talks to these two boys and like convinces them to go to the carnival. And it's just like a really atmospheric, trippy read. I thought the prose was fantastic. Could not put it down. I don't think I want to reread it physically at some point because I did really, really like it. And I don't know. Like, I don't have much more to say about it because I don't remember a lot of how the book happened. I do think the stuff like the one character's dad comes in and like that kind of becomes the main part of the book. And I thought that was really affecting and emotional too. But yeah, so Something Wicked This Way Comes is good. Also, I grew up on a carnival, so I've always been interested in reading it because of that. And carnival stuff was good. Like, I mean, it's a different vibe than I lived, thankfully. But yeah, yay for carnivals. 24, we have The Art of Racing in the Rain by Garth Stein. And luckily, look at this good boy Enzo. Look at him with his little truck on his nose, like a good boy. Luckily, I already talked about this book a lot, so I can mostly move on. But this is a really good book. I did not expect it to like as much as I did. Read it for Enzo. He's trying to be a human. He's a good dog. It's very emotional. And also, the people that I've recommended this book to, they're like, oh, I don't want to be sad. Like, I like animals. And like, it just, it's not sad in the way that you think that it's sad. It's just a very moving book. There is a plot line in the book that I think was not necessary. I'm not entirely sure why that's the choice he made, and I found that they changed it in the movie, which is interesting. So I don't think the movie will be as charming because you need Enzo's monologue for it to be as charming as it is. Yeah, it's a great cover. So yeah, that's a great book. All right, 23, The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. And I'm just realizing how many books Carlos loves on this list. This is a very Carlos and Yolanda dedicated list. Like, you guys really influenced my TBR this year, apparently. And I got this for $5 at Value Village, and this is the coolest thing I've ever found for cheap. So this is a signed limited edition of this book. It's numbered. Yeah, look at that. And I just found it at Value Village for $5. So just incredible. What a find. Yeah, Shadow of the Wind. Okay, so this was my choice for my book club. And I thought it was fantasy. Like, I thought it was, like light fantasy. Like, I knew it took place in Spain and, was going to be like historical fiction. But I thought it had overt fantastical elements. And it has, you could argue there's some. Like, I don't think it's entirely devoid necessarily, but it's more about the writing is very whimsical and breezy and just great. Like, the story of the book is good. Like, it is a good story. Like, if I watched an adaptation of Shadow of the Wind, I could imagine I would come back being like, that was a good frolicking time. But this book really stands on its prose. Very, very nicely written. Excellent prose. Just great stuff. But I did expect it to be fantasy, and I had chosen it to drip dry my coworkers into fantasy more. And so that has nothing to do with the book, but I was just like, oh, I thought this would be more overtly fantastical, so I could be like, see, you guys read fantasy and you liked it. So that isn't a knock against the book, but it was like, oh, I thought this was something else. Value Village gang. Yeah, that edition is great. Well, we'll see. If you want to give me $1,200 for it, you can, Ian. Just saying. You can sell one of your kids. You don't need all of them. Yes, this is exactly how I would describe it. Jake says, Shadow of the Wind is a book where technically the entire plot can happen without anything being fantastical, but it just feels fantastical. Yes, I totally agree. And I read the prequel novel as well, and that was fine. That wasn't as good, but I didn't expect it to be. 22, I do own a physical copy for because I got it from my wife for Christmas this year, but it is upstairs, and I don't think I've heard anybody on BookTube in our corner talk about this book because it's not really a book that like our corner or like an author that our corner really gets into that I see. But it's More or Less Maddie by Lisa Genova. So Lisa Genova is a neuroscientist, and she writes books about people going through like neurological disorders and stuff like that. So like Still Alice is her most famous book, which I also read. And More or Less Maddie and Still Alice were neck and neck. I chose More or Less Maddie for a specific reason that I'll talk about. But they were both excellent books. And so Still Alice is about a woman who starts getting Alzheimer's, and you see her perspective as she gets on Alzheimer's. I've previously read a book where the guy had, I think it was ALS. And then she has a book about somebody going deaf. Like she has all these books about like, and because she has like the science behind it, she like makes sure to make it like as dedicated as possible to the experience that you can give in a book to, and I really like that aspect of her books. More or Less Maddie is a little different though, in the sense that it's her first book dealing with mental illness. And so the main character, Maddie, has bipolar disorder. And I know people with bipolar disorder, and I would never presume to be like, because this book felt like to me, it felt very, very true to how, first of all, like, I mean, I studied psych, so like how I've learned about bipolar, but also just some of the people that I know that have bipolar disorder, how their lives have been. And so Maddie wants to be an actress, I think, or I think she wants to be an actress, but she also wants to open for Taylor Swift. I don't know. She has grandiose dreams. And she gets diagnosed with bipolar, and her family doesn't fully support her. And she gets medicated, and like, you know, she'll start getting her life together, and then something will happen where she has another spiral. And I thought the characterization and the display of mental health was so incredibly good. And what I also liked is how tense I was. So Maddie's life will start going better. She'll be on the right track. She'll be holding down a job that she really likes. And, you know, she'll be having a good relationship, or she'll be with her family or whatever. And the whole time I'm so tense because I know something's going to happen. She's going to forget to take her medication, or she's going to like, something's going to go wrong. And it's all made worse by the fact that her family is just like not very understanding of what bipolar is. And, you know, the thing is that you take your medicine all the time, and then she starts being like, well, you know, I don't have to take my medicine. Like, I'm doing well. Like, I don't need this. I could just skip a day. And then things start seeping in. And I don't know. I was so stressed out that whole book in such a like important way. Like, I really loved it. And yes, Still Alice is also a very tough read. Really good. Highly recommend. I want to watch the movie now. I think you can do it, Mitch. You read sad stuff. Okay, 21. We're going to hit the top 20 soon here, folks, and we're only an hour and 7 minutes in. Look at that. Speedy Gonzalez over here. 21 is Red Rabbit by Alex Grecian. This is a horror Western, not about rabbits, which, you know, should be. More books should be about rabbits than aren't Watership Down. Hot take. But I love this book. Also, the audiobook is phenomenal. Like, it's really, really good. I read Rose of Jericho at the end of the year, which is like it is a sequel, but it's not a direct sequel. Like, you could read either one separately, but Rose of Jericho definitely spoils Red Rabbit. So if you're going to read both, read Red Rabbit first. But yeah, the audiobook narrator is phenomenal. Super love it. And this book is about a girl named Rabbit and a bunch of ragtag people who are trying to get rid of a witch, let's say. And this is for sure just straight up a fantasy book also. The horror elements and like the fantasy stuff, all great. I don't typically love Westerns, but this really felt like an epic fantasy book where like they're like getting a quest together with like a ragtag group. Honestly, this book is Red Country by Joe Abercrombie, but with ghosts and stuff. Like, that's the book. So very good. Really liked it a lot. And I also, this cover is great. Like, I just have to say, they changed the covers, and I don't like them nearly as much. Really love this cover. And yeah, Chadia also loved this book. So glad that we both agreed. And did you like Rose of Jericho as well? Did you read that one? Let me know. The 20th spot. This is true. Bookworm says Red Coast technically does have ghosts in it as well, and I guess that's true. But this is more ghosts. heavier on the ghosts. The 20th spot I would have never guessed. This is the most surprising spot on the list in terms of, if you had shown me this list a year ago, I would have been the most surprised that this book made the list, and that is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. So I read Sharp Objects a couple years ago. I did not like it at all. I thought it was edgy nonsense. Really liked the miniseries though. And then in January I read Dark Places, and I really liked Dark Places. And I was like, wow, this book was really good. I actually really liked it. And then my book club chose Gone Girl. And I was like, okay, good. I'll finally read the one that everybody is about. I saw the movie a long time ago. I did not like the movie. I liked it, but it was a lot. I don't know. Wasn't a huge fan. And I was like, oh yeah, well, now I've read all of her novels, and I'll just be done with this woman, and maybe I'll like Gone Girl more than Sharp Objects. And Gone Girl is extremely addicting, and I understand exactly why this book, like, there's so many like ripoffs, like this kind of like created this whole subgenre of like unreliable narrator, women that like you don't know what's going on, but like then there's a whole big and it's just a roaring good time. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, not a good time. It's terrible. Everything about it's terrible. But like, couldn't put it down. There's dueling POVs. You know, the wife goes missing. You get Nick's perspective, the guy, and everybody thinks that he might have had something to do with it, and he's trying to like PR himself out of it. I also thought his relationship with his sister was like surprisingly touching. Like, I don't remember that really at all in the movie, so that was different, or better, I should say. And then once you get to the parts, like, if you don't know, this book is wild, all gas, no brakes. And I think when I try to ask myself when I'm reading a book, like, what is the book trying to do, and what am I getting out of it, and that experience? And I think a thriller book has a cap for me. Like I can never imagine a thriller book becoming one of my all-time favorite books. It's just not what really endears me to a book in a long-term kind of way. But that doesn't mean I can't pick one up and really enjoy it. And I think Gone Girl is one of the best at doing that. Like, I read this book and I was like, I totally see why people read this genre. Like, I'm not well read in it. Don't take my word for it. But this is like foundational text of like thrillers in terms of like, I see the DNA of why this became a phenomenon. Yeah, she's been writing a book for like 45 years or something. I don't know. She's been like, I feel like every year she's like, I'm going to release a book, and then she doesn't. I didn't see it coming either. It's really good. I highly recommend. Also, the audiobook was really good. I really liked it. So that was the surprising twist of 2025, is liking Gone Girl. Number 19. Ian is going to love this. Ian, are you ready? Number 19 is When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. Nat Cassidy is great. I think more people should be reading him. He is a great new voice in modern horror. I read Nestlings last year. Really liked it. And I like it more retroactively. Like, I think as time has gone by, I've liked Nestlings even more. And I went back and read Rosemary's Baby, which I hadn't read, and Nestlings is kind of like a mashup of Salem's Lot and Rosemary's Baby, and that made me like Nestlings more. So When the Wolf Comes Home came out this year, and I listened to the audiobook and just loved it. I just think this book is great. I think the characters are compelling. I think the premise is like this woman who's an actress. She's not very well known, and she comes across this boy, and she's like, "Where's your dad?" And he's like, "I don't know, places." I don't remember exactly what the boy says, but the boy's like, "Not around." And she's like, "Okay, well, I gotta like find out what's going on to you." And then the dad comes, and the dad is a werewolf. And so now they're like, "Oh shit!" And so it kind of becomes this like madcap, crazy, and it goes places you could never. Like, this book is a ride, and yeah, I just loved it. Like, I don't know, like it's a short book. I think in a book like this, loving the characters is not necessarily required, but I actually thought like the two main characters were really well done. I really liked the ending, and also, and this is a very specific Nat Cassidy compliment. I've never complimented anybody else for this. He writes incredibly good afterwards. The afterword of this book, I almost feel like is a must read, because it contextualized why he wrote it, and like what was going on with him, and like what he got out of it. And it made me appreciate the book so much more. And that's the same thing that happened in Nestlings. Like, I read Nestlings and I thought it was really good, and then he did an afterword, and the afterword was like really emotionally affecting about like what was going on during COVID with him, and like how he used that book to like get through it. And I don't know, the dude really knows how to write an afterword that like is important and like makes you reconsider the book. So yeah, I super like this author, and I need to keep reading more from him. And Ian is also a big fan. We both just got his short story collection from NetGalley, and I think we'll both be reading it soon. Yes, 2025 Kyle will be very shocked by the gap between Gone Girl and All That We See Or Sheen. That is so true. Absolutely wild. All right. We're getting there, folks. We're getting there. 18 is Strength of the Few by James Islington. This was probably my most anticipated read of the year, so this is still disappointing. Like 18 out of 380 is high, but I would still classify this as a disappointing read. But notice that I am not giving this 1 star or 2 stars or being like, oh yeah, it just, no way, it just, oh my god, like, it's just the worst book I ever read, no way. The discourse around this book has been super exhausting to me. And look, people can feel how they feel. They can express how they feel however they want. Of course you can. But I think there's several things going on with this book that have nothing to do with the book, which is just, first of all, expectations. The Will of the Many ended on such a crazy, crazy thing. And it also had a specific location. And then the next book has 3 locations, that none of which really are the location in the first book. So that's going to be jarring. There's a lot more world building going on. There's a lot more stuff going on in terms of the magic, in terms of setting up the pieces. And a lot of people thought this was a trilogy. It's 4 books. But even if it was a trilogy, like the middle book, like I expect setup in a middle book. I don't know. Like, I have gripes with this book. I think the pacing is weird. Like I actively think it was paced incorrectly. And what I mean by that is the 3 storylines are not, something need to be shuffled there. Like, and I've heard lots of people complain about this, and I do agree with this. They it's like, it's jarring. There'll be like a crescendo to one story, and then it'll just like stop and then go to a storyline where like nothing very important is happening. It's just like, it's really hard to just be in it. So that made it, and I think that made it more difficult for people in general. I think anything that pulls you out of a read makes you naturally notice the flaws in it more. So I think that is also a thing that happened with some people, where because it was like wonky, and like they'd be like, oh, in it, and then out of it, like, and then they're like, well, I also don't like, I'm not really, I think it just inspires you to think more about your read when you're not like just in it. And like, yeah, it's just not as good as Will of the Many to me and to many people. But I don't know, if you love the first book and you hated this book, I just don't see it. Like, I mean, sure, people are different, obviously, but I don't really buy the argument that like James Allen forgot how to write, or it's just like terrible, or I think the book is wild. I think it's incredibly bold. Like, there's just lots of crazy stuff happening. There's an element to it I can't talk about because of spoilers, but for a certain reason, the audiobook was very difficult for me. And I can't say anything more than that. It's probably a me thing, but it's about how the way the book is structured, that I would just like lose the plot sometimes, like completely, and not even like, I'd be like, I don't even know where I am right now, and I would have to stop and go back and like go read physically or something. So that impacted my reading experience a little, but I also recognized that that was more me than the book. Like, I was like, I should have read this physically and not listened to it. Yeah, the audio was not it. Like, and the audiobook's good. Like, it's Ewan Morton. He's great. He was great in Will of the Many. It has nothing to do with like the performance. It's like spoiler reasons. Yes, I agree. And so, yeah, I thought it was great. Mostly, like it did what book 2 out of 4 should do. I think every storyline ends off in a place. I'm super excited for the 3rd book. The last third of Strength of the Few, I was like, I need to know what the hell's going on here. And I was just like, in it. It had 2 moments in this book that like I literally like was I think I gasped out loud. I was like, oh, like I just couldn't believe it. So I don't know. I thought it was great. Not as good as maybe I hoped it would be, but I'm ready for book 3 when it comes out. And it'll be really interesting. I don't tend to forget these things. People tend to forget. When the series is finished in like 2029 or whenever it's done, and people finish and they're going to read it, and then people are going to be like, oh yeah, Strength of the Few was good, like, you know, blah, 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 or something like that. I'm like, listen, I was there when people were like, the series is ruined. James Islington lost the plot. And I'm like, guys, it's because you wait 2 years and then you read this book and then it's a setup book. And then you're like, oh no, I didn't get all the answers and all the character stuff. And it's like, well, okay, but you're not going to. So I don't know. I think people, when they binge this series, when it's finished, are going to have a much different experience. So anyway, that was 18, and a little bit of a rant because I find the discourse around hyped releases pretty exhausting lately. I don't think people are able to be like, it was fine. Like, you can say it was fine. You don't have to be like, this is now a 0 out of 10. Like, it's fine. Okay, so 17. I actually do have a physical copy of this, but it's buried under a bunch of other books. Jake is going to be disappointed that this book is not higher, but 17 out of 380 is good, and that is The Warrior's Apprentice by Lois McMaster Bujold. Really good book. Jordan, don't speak. Don't say anything. Yeah, so this is the first of the Vorgosigan saga with Miles. And, you know, Jake has been hyping up Miles to me for like a year since he just got absolutely crazy. Loving Vorgosigan. And I thought he was great. Like, he's very fun. Really good character. Just the whole book is just a frolic and good time. How dare you, Alex? What does this even mean? I gave so many books like 2 stars this year. Nice to see you, buddy. And yeah, Jordan doesn't like Miles Vorgosigan, so. But she doesn't like good characters. Actually, she doesn't like men, I think is what it is. Okay, so The Warrior's Apprentice is the first Miles book. I thought it was a great setup for Miles' character. Like, he's young, he like has this like physical handicap due to some stuff that happened in Barrayar. And he has to like use his like ingenuity and like just talking to people and stuff to get problem solved. I really liked it. I do not like the audiobooks for these. It's Grover Gardner, who I really like. I do not think he suits this series at all. The series has too much like humor and like wit, and I just think Grover Gardner sounds like a guy that, like, I don't know, lives in rural Ohio and just like farms beets. Like, I don't know, he just doesn't seem like the guy that would be the guy for the series. So I cannot do it on audio. It doesn't work for my brain. And so I read these a little slower. I would like to pick up Vorgosigan soon because I really like this book. I think this is a part of it, Jordan, because the audio does not suit Miles at all, and I just don't. I think it's a terrible choice. Like, I don't get it. So try one of them. Like, try the next one physical and see if you like it more. Yes, I agree. Like, if people, I think about this all the time. Like, I'm like, there are lots of series where I'm like, I don't think like it's, would people have loved Fool's Errand if it came out in 2025 and Hobb was like let's say Hobb was as big as she was and Fool's Errand was her next book. And I don't mean people like you and me. Like, I know Jake and I would have loved Fool's Errand, but I'm talking about culturally at large. If Fool's Errand came out, or like The Golden Fool, even. The Golden Fool is a way better example. And The Golden Fool came out in 2025. I think Robin Hobb fans would have lost their damn minds because they'd be like, oh my God, like nothing happened in this book. And I'm like, just guys, give it time. Yes, I also agree that Warrior's Apprentice gets very emotionally heavy. Yeah, it's a good book. I really want to continue. It's good. Yeah, I mean, so Ben loves the audio, and Ben is wrong. But maybe you can be wrong with him, Alex. I would say try the audio. Like again, I think Grover Gardner's. You've probably listened to him before. I'm sure you have. But I don't personally think he suits the series. Robin Hobb did obviously forget how to write, Jake. So true. All right. 16. We Used to Live Here by Marcus. I don't know how to say his last name. Klewer? I don't know. This is like kind of a sensation, like this year-ish or something in horror. I read this book in like a day, maybe a day and a half. Horror books, really good for binging. And yeah, I loved it. Incredible. Absolutely insane. What the fuck is this book, guys? So crazy. I can't tell you much about it except that, so I can tell you like basically what the blurb kind of stuff is, because everything else about it is a spoiler. So it's like these, you know, this couple lives in a house that they just bought, and the one woman is away, and then the other woman, she's at home, and a family comes to the door, and the guy's like, hey, this used to be my house as a child, and I wanted to show my family. Is it okay if we come in and look around? Now, what I would say to that is no. But what she says is the opposite of no. She says yes. And then this book gets wild. Yeah, just super addicting. I went out and bought this book right after and let my wife read it. My wife read it, and it might have been the first horror book my wife had read. I don't know for sure, but she doesn't read horror much. She was like, this book wasn't very scary, but it was very good. And I was like, well, I thought it was scary, but I also was listening to it at like 3 in the morning in an empty, creaky house. So definitely a different vibe. Super, super good book. You guys shall read it. Also, I guess he like originally wrote it as like a series of Reddit posts or something like that, or that's how he started. There's a whole like internet culture around this book that I don't understand, and like there's like Morse code in it, and like if you suss out the Morse code, it like gives you more about the story, which I don't know. It's a very involved book, but you don't need any of that. I just read it straight. I didn't know any about that, and it's very good. I didn't even know that he was coming out with another book soon. That's awesome. I will definitely look for it and try to read it. Yeah, Alex, this book is awesome. I agree. A lot less fantasy on this list than previous years. Like it's a lot of crime and like just different horror, a lot of horror. Okay, 15. We are coming up on a part of the list where other people would have actually started this list. I feel like 15 tends to be the cutoff for lots of people, but they're weak. I did top 30 because why wouldn't you? And Alien Clay by Adrian Tchaikovsky is 15. And I read quite a few Adrian Tchaikovsky books this year, like novellas. And this was just the best one. Oh, I didn't actually say at the beginning of this. I am doing one per author for the top 30 list with a bit of a caveat, just because it kept the list a little bit more succinct, which is why, like, for instance, I think More or Less Maddie and Still Alice would have made it if I didn't do one per author because they were both excellent. But just to try to, I forgot I didn't mention that. But so Alien Clay is the best of the Tchaikovsky books that I read this year. But I also read Shroud. I read The Hungry Gods. I read Firewalkers, a couple more, I'm sure. And Alien Clay is great. First of all, audiobook, again, excellent. Ben Allen, phenomenal guy for audio. And so Alien Clay is about this like archaeologist that goes to a planet, and there's like weird alien architecture and alien clay on this place, and they're like trying to colonize the planet, and alien shenanigans happen. Now, Adrian Tchaikovsky is very good at aliens. Like, I think the aliens in this are great. The main character is kind of insufferable in this book, but I think that he's supposed to, like, there's a reason that he is. He's very much like he isn't a hippie. Like, he's not a hippie at all. But he reminds me of what like a tree-hugging hippie would be doing during Vietnam. If that makes sense. Like, it's the same style of, except that he's with the base, so he has to, but he's just like, guys, man, like the planet, yo, which, like, to be fair, I'm on his side, but he's just like also kind of an asshole. So, but yeah, I was actually kind of out on this book in the middle. Like, I really liked the beginning, and then in the middle, I was like, I don't know if this book is gonna land this plane. And then the last third, especially the last like 10% of this book, goes nuts. And I really loved the ending. So that really put it together to me. And again, like, Tchaikovsky is one of my favorite authors because of his consistency and his interesting like ideas, and he can make different books about similar-ish topics but feel totally different, and then he'll do something that's entirely different. I just really love the breadth of his work. And Alien Clay is not one of my top favorites by him, but it is really close, especially like the standalones. I think maybe that and Guns of the Dawn are my favorite standalones from him. But it was a really good book, and yeah, the like suppressed edition of it looks gorgeous. I wish I could get it, but I can't. Evie, I am on 14. I just finished 15, which is Alien Clay by Adrian Tchaikovsky. And I don't remember, did you read that book this year? I'm curious. I know that you read a lot of Tchaikovsky this year as well. Okay, I'm on 14. And this is one of Ben's least favorite books of the year because he's wrong about stuff. And 14 is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. I actually thought this book would be higher, but like I think this book was really high for like the first half of my year because I really loved it. And just like a bunch of really awesome books happened later on. But yeah, this is obviously the Hamish prequel for the Hunger Games. I read the Hunger Games again last year for the first time since I was in high school, and I'm like, wow, 2 out of 3 of these super hold up, and one of them super doesn't. And the one that doesn't is fine. And then I read the other prequel when it came out, and that book's fine. Like, it's not terrible, not good, it's fine. And Sunrise on the Reaping is great. Everything Ben says about it is wrong. He doesn't like YA, and he doesn't like women, and he doesn't have women with thoughts. So he's just out altogether. For legal purposes, this is totally a joke, but Ben just didn't like this book very much. Yeah, Sunrise on the Reaping is great. I loved it. I think, so, okay. Prequels really irritate me because they're done poorly a lot of the time. And so I'm always skeptical about prequels. And to make a prequel really good, you have to choose your focus differently. And okay, I'm gonna call out Mike's review, not because it's wrong or anything, but just I watched it recently for us, like most disappointing of the year, and it reminds me of this problem, which is that Mike said when he was reading this book that he expected more of the games, and so he was disappointed because he felt the games were lackluster, which is totally reasonable. I'm not taking shots at Mike at all, but the reason I'm bringing that up is that we got the games in Catching Fire. Like Katniss like watches all of Haymitch's games, so the idea of a Haymitch prequel is so difficult to pull off in light of that, because you can't do exactly what Catching Fire says, or else it's going to be extremely disappointing. You can't do that. So you inherently have to use the confines of what the bones that you've already set up and make this story interesting and fascinating anyway. And the only way to do that is to really dig deep on who makes Haymitch, what makes Haymitch tick, and what changed him. And I think the book fires on all cylinders on that. Extremely good stuff with Haymitch all around. Extremely tragic things. This book is the most brutal Hunger Games book for sure. I don't think this book would be YA, except that like it's in a YA series and like it's following like 16-year-olds or whatever. But in terms of like the level of violence and stuff, and I reread Hunger Games recently, so anybody trying to say it's the same level, it's just not the same level. This book is more brutal for sure. Yeah, excellent. I loved it all. I do think the secondary characters were really good. I'm actually so excited for the movie. I think they cast it extremely well, and I wasn't excited for the previous movie at all. So I will be seated for this adaptation because I think it looks great. And the character stuff that they brought in all made sense, like the cameos for other characters. I do think there's one person that they bring in that I'm like, this is fan service and only fan service. But the rest, I think, really enhanced the narrative and like kind of set up the stuff going on with like seeding the rebellion and showing how long it takes for a, like Katniss comes into this series and she's just living her hunting life in District 12, and she comes in and this whole infrastructure of rebellion trying to happen, and it can feel like it just happens out of nowhere. And so I like this book kind of lays down the groundwork of like these things are really, really hard to accomplish. And they take a lot of like patience and understanding and like small movements. And I thought it did really well of doing that while also still just being like it didn't like hammer that home. It just kind of like left that as the background. So I'm going to see what people think about this because this was a popular release. Ben is just losing his goddamn mind right now. Okay. Ben, I need you to go touch some grass, okay? Just like read this comment and then go outside, just caress the grass. Just take a breath. It's going to be okay. Now that you've done that, I totally agree with you. So I don't think the book was a cash grab. I think this is clearly something she wanted to write based on how she wrote Catching Fire. Like I think this is something that was always interested in. There was always fan interest. And I think that the other prequel, Sunrise and Songbirds, and that's a stupid title. Whatever the other prequel was, does set up doing the next, I think doing the next Quarter Quell makes sense. However, I do admit the fast tracking of how quick this movie's coming out is patently absurd. They so clearly wanted to make another movie. And I don't think they gave Suzanne Collins money and then she wrote a book. I think she was writing a book, and before it was done, she let people know, and her agent was like, hot diggity dog, we're going to get this contract sealed. Because as soon as the book came out, the movie was already scheduled. And I'm like, that's some shaky stuff. I thought the movie would be terrible, and maybe it is, but the casting for this movie is incredible. Like top tier casting. And I like Francis Lawrence as a director, so I will trust it until I have no reason to trust it. Bard says, Sunrise on the Reaping was awesome. I had no interest in Songbirds and Snakes. This is a prequel that actually got me back in. Yeah, and I do think like it rewards people who have read Songbirds and Snakes. I think that it builds off of the characterization of Snow, but it doesn't, you don't have to read that prequel, but I do think it adds. Like it helps with the coveys and stuff like that. Cracked TBR. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your name. Stand Strong Ben, I'm with you. There's another hater out here, that's fine. If there's less of the games, I might actually like this book more because Catching Fire is my favorite, but the games are my least favorite part of that book. Okay, first of all, Catching Fire being the favorite is the correct take. That is clearly the best of them. And I actually like the games in that book because I think it's really interesting. And one of the reasons I like Catching Fire so much is that instead of the tributes all being like nameless, just like District from 8, like, nameless guy, it's all people that like well, not all, but a lot of them have like personality. They like learn more about each of them before the games. So while the game is happening, I feel more attachment to like who they fight and who they see and stuff like that. So I found the games more interesting in that way. Ending of the book was devastating. That is true. Very, very devastating. This does remind me. The ending of this book randomly starts quoting Shakespeare a ton, and that was really distracting. That should have been edited out. Like, not a big problem, but I remember like, okay, we get it. Like, we get it. Ben dislikes this, so that means it's YA. This is a fact. Ballad is bad, boring. I had no expectation for Sunrise and then loved it. I liked Ballad until the end, which I hate. So it kind of became like a 3-star experience for me. It's fine. Like I don't regret reading it. I don't think it was as good as it could be, or like that one, if anything, was a cash grab. That one felt way more cash grabby to me than Sunrise. Sunrise felt like a book that she really wanted to tell. They might have revealed the movie and the book at the same time. That's entirely fine. Which, like, you know, I know a slight amount about how like movie contracts and books and stuff go. Sometimes that happens. Like that's not that absurd. It's just that Hunger Games is a huge property, so I'm like, oh, they for sure wanted to lock this in. But like when she was 60% of the way through writing the book or something like that, they could have been negotiating a contract because they knew that Hunger Games is such a hot commodity that they would make a movie for it. So it doesn't send up red flags to me that they announced them at the same time. It's just that I was like, oh yeah, they really want this money for sure. Yeah, there's some Ballad haters on here. That's fine. I have no personal attachment to Ballad. I don't think it was as bad as some people, but I'm all about the hate sometimes, so I get it. Okay, we're on spot 13. Okay, I'm going to respond to this slander that Evie said here. This is not true. I never said that Songbirds was bad. I question the reason for it to have existed in its form. And also, it was the first one in like 10, 12 years. So it's like, I feel like it's more likely that the money had run out, or that she actually might have needed money or wanted more money and decided to write a prequel that she had never mentioned before. Whereas I do think that Sunrise on the Reaping has textual evidence in the original trilogy that it was something she was thinking about. And I know fans have been asking for it since the end of the series. So who knows? Maybe they're both cash grabs, Evie. I'm just saying, don't always be a cynic, people. And sometimes people will write things for the right reasons. It's tough. Like, my answer is yes. I think all things being equal, you should read Ballad before Sunrise. But some people in this chat and generally think Sunrise is awful, or Ballad is awful. I don't think it's awful. Like I enjoyed like 85% of the book, and then I just really hated the ending a lot. But I never loved it, so I think it's fine. So I don't think you need to read Sunrise to appreciate, or read Ballad to appreciate Sunrise. I think it's fine if you skip it. Ian says don't read Ballad. I know you haven't read it, Evie, because you don't read fun things. And actually, Hunger Games is not fun. It's sad, but it's fun for, you know, it's teenagers. Teenagers can only have fun, Evie. You should read these books. Oh, this is actually a good idea. I don't think Jake watches movies. I don't think he owns a TV. I don't think he's ever seen a TV. And if he does watch something, he should in fact be watching Sinners, not Ballad. But this is also an option to watch Ballad and then read Sunrise. Simon Jimenez is not fun. Simon Jimenez is good. That's different. Okay, let's keep this going. I guessed this stream would be 2 hours, and it's an hour and 38 minutes in, and I'm on 13, so I do have to hustle, and I just won't, but we'll see. Oh, I didn't know you love Hunger Games, Evie. You should definitely read Sunrise. For sure. Definitely read it. Okay, 13 is The Last House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward. I already talked about this book. I can skip it, but I would just do a brief overview for people who didn't hear that part. It's about a guy on a street that people think is weird, and girls are going missing around his neighborhood, and people think it might be him. And it follows him, and it has a perspective from his cat. His cat's perspective is incredible. And this book's wild. It's absolutely wild. It's not going to go places that you expect. It's nuts. I really loved it. Ian, Jordan, Alex all loved it. I think there's other people in this chat that loved it. I know, really good book. Read it. It's really unique. It's not going to go where you expect it. Then we're going to go straight to number 12, which is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, which, again, I'm surprised this is this low. Like, I really like this book. Also love this edition. broken binding, go burr, like great art, really good. Yeah, so The Devils is really good. It's not as good as First Law to me. I didn't like it. I probably liked it less than every First Law book except Red Country and Best Served Cold. I feel like those would be the only two, and Sharp Ends, which doesn't count. But I thought it was great. I really liked it. I liked that it was different enough from his other stuff, but also still like textbook Joe Abercrombie. I find the discourse around this book interesting. It doesn't make me angry like Strength of the Few does, but I do find it interesting because it's all over the spectrum. There's no one discourse about it. And then people with the same history with Joe Abercrombie will swear that their opinion is because of the So like you have people who love Joe Abercrombie books and then hated The Devils. And then they'd be like, I just think it's not like his other stuff at all. Like it's not up to the standards of First Law. But then you have other people that have read First Law and then love The Devils. And be like, if you love Joe Abercrombie, you're going to love The Devils. It's the same thing, but different. But then you have people that have never read any Joe Abercrombie and they're like, I love The Devils. But then I tried First Law and I didn't like it. It just goes all over the map. And I find it very interesting. I cannot make heads or tails of it. And these are kind of trends that I do like to pay attention to. I find it interesting, the trends of why people like stuff in relation to other stuff that they've tried. It's not anything you can really quantify. It's more about vibes. So people's perception is always going to be different. But I do find it interesting. And it's just been hard to parse why people do and don't like this book in relation to other Abercrombie books. So I won't try. But what I will say is I thought this book was incredibly fun. I laughed a lot. I think I actually laughed more per page than other Joe Abercrombie books. I loved the cast of characters. Like I thought they all were really good. I really love Vigga. Vigga's incredible. I think maybe a lot of people called the like twist, and I didn't because I was just having a good time, so I didn't really care. But if that's something that's important to you, maybe the twist is like easily callable, I suspect. And my criticism of the book is it is actually too long for what it is. It does remind me of my criticism of Best Served Cold, which it's just that like Best Served Cold has a narrative device of like, we need to do this thing this many times. And I think that book needed less times. Like the book got really repetitive. And I think The Devils also gets repetitive. They're like, we need to do this. And then like something happens several times. And that needed to happen one less times. So, you know, it could have, it felt long. Like as I was reading it, I was like, this book is a little too long. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, Sean. I don't know if it's like quote unquote supposed to be good, but I think most of the people or all the people I know that have read it have really liked it. It is definitely not like an airport domestic thriller. It's nuts. Like it's wild. And I walked away with a lot of respect for the author. Like I could see even if you don't like the book, like being like, oh, this is a really interesting author that I want to read more from. Like I could totally see that being a thing. Thanks for joining us, Bookworm, and have a good night. All right. Number 11, I again have already talked about, so yay, I can be fast. 11 is Small Mercies by Dennis Lehane. Small Mercies is a great, excellent book. Really loved it. Mary Pat is great. Just a quick recap in case you joined us late. Small Mercies is about a woman whose daughter goes missing, and she's like, I think in her 50s, and nobody's really investigating it much. She's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go and do it myself. And she like is dealing with like the gangsters and the mobsters in town, and just no rhyme or reason. She's just a mom trying to find. It's the female taken in Boston or Baltimore or New York or somewhere, and it's great. Loved it. Mary Pat is awesome. What a great character. Dennis Lehane does not miss, except for Since We Fell, which is a bad book. Yes, some of the best Lehane I've read. I agree. It might be my favorite from him so far. Mystic River is very good, but I watched the movie Mystic River first, and I think it just dulled a little bit of the impact because it follows the movie pretty closely, and I think if I'd read the book first, like getting those emotions from the book would have been just like. But Mystic River and Small Mercies are my two favorites so far, for sure. Okay, I'm gonna move some books over here because I have another stack. We're getting to the top 10, folks. We are finally in where this list should have began if you were regular. So, all right. Number 10 is, I'm going to move some more stuff because there's shit everywhere. The Butcher's Masquerade by Matt Dinneman, book 5 in Dungeon Crawler Carl. I read most of this book most of the series this year. I think I read 4 through 7 this year. And the 5th book is not only my favorite this year, it's also my favorite in the series. I really like it. When I went to Worldcon, I had to guess which book I was going to like the most by Matt Dinneman. And I guessed 5, having like not read 6 or 7. So I got him to sign this one. And I'm glad that I did, because it is, in fact, my favorite. I guessed right. Butcher's Masquerade is great. I have no actual problems with it at all. I think it's just phenomenal. The ending of this book maybe the most emotional in the series, and I also think we get like really good stuff with the backstories of Carl and Donut. The games get more interesting. The like politics get more interesting. Everything's really good. Dungeon Crawler Carl is hard for me. It's very interesting because I can't keep any of it straight on audio. Like there's just so many like Jeff Hayes. It's like the best audiobooks I've ever listened to, and Jeff Hayes is phenomenal. And he does all these voices for all these characters, and nobody looks like a person. Like they all like customize themselves. So like there's a part in the 6th book where a character's talking and they're like dying. It's like a very like poignant scene that's like really good. And then they're like, and then the Catwoman did this, and I'm like, wait, that's a Catwoman? Like I'm like, I just don't, I cannot visualize 96% of what's happening on audio. Like I just can't do it. So I have no idea what's happening at any time, except that I do. I'm responding to the emotions and the plot and the characters in the moment well, and then it just falls off after. Like I can't. But then when I was going to physically read the 7th book, because I was like, I want to know, and the audiobooks are too good. Like I just can't do it. So I don't know. It's really weird because I love the series so much, and I also, when people talk to me about it, I'm like, I don't know, man. Like I'm getting to the point where I know the supporting characters from the previous books really well. Like thankfully, like if they've been in a couple books, I'm good. But if it's a character that's like introduced in that book or the book before, and they're just like showing up and having like a random Australian accent, I'm like, I can't tell you the name of this character. So that's interesting. I do think I should physically read these at one point just so I know what the fuck I'm talking about. But Butcher's Masquerade was excellent. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know why you would feel that way, except being wrong, but that's okay. I think the 6th book is the one where, and 7. 6 and 7 felt too long for me, and I really liked 6. Butcher's Masquerade, I think, was great. Have you read 6 yet, Evie? Yeah, Ian and Ben love DCC. Doesn't justify his length. Yeah, I just don't agree, but that's okay, Evie. Ending is incredible. Donut song, yes, incredible. Ending of this book is so good. Definitely the best at ending, and I think that's what like. Book 6 was really good also, but I don't think the climax of the book was nearly as good as the climax to this book. And book 7, I just think generally wasn't as good. Like it was good. It just wasn't. It wasn't as good as these two for sure for me. Yeah, I get by vibes. So I feel like when I'm listening to DCC, it's like a like a Mario game or like a Crash Bandicoot game where you're like going on the trail, and then as soon as you get far enough, the trail behind you just like falls away. That's how I feel. It's like I always know where I am in place and time in the book. But if you ask me what happened 20 chapters ago, I'm like, they were doing stuff. The guy was doing the thing, and like I only can remember the big stuff. So I really need to read it physically. Alex, you read the fine books, and you stopped in the first really good one, and go back. Stop reading. Actually, you're reading a lot of good stuff, but read this good stuff too. Okay, so you hit your fun quota for the year is what happened. I think you can only you don't like fun, and you discovered fun for the first time with DCC, much to all of our surprise and delight. We were so happy for you. We all the book community were like, Evie finally found fun. Thank God. And I think you just maxed out 5.5 or 4.5 books, which is fair. So hopefully when you return, it works better for you. I agree the books are very, especially in the early ones, I don't remember much about what happens in the first 3. Maybe even 4. Well, I remember some stuff in the 4th because they feel repetitive to me. And it's just the levels and everything. But I think once the characters start fully developing, it just gets way more interesting to me because I'm not there for the games at all. When the loot boxes, I zone out for. I don't care about any of the loot. When in book 6 or whatever, when he's like, and that thing I got that's gonna help me here that I've had. I'm like, I don't remember when you got that. I have no you could hold a gun to my head. I wouldn't be able to tell you when you got it or what it does. I don't care. I'm just there for the good times and the emotions and the funny stuff. So Yes, I know that I'm correct, TV. But I am glad that you like sad stuff because you can lead me to more sad stuff. Okay. Number 9. A book that nobody is surprised made it on this list because of who I am. Isles of the Emberdark by Brando Sando with the nice Dragonsteel edition. Love this book. Yeah. Nobody seemed to read this book this year. I think everybody just got Sanderson out after Wind and Truth, which is fine. It was a million pages. But I really like Isles of the Emberdark. Now, I will say, some of the writing in this was not good. There's a part, I quoted it to a bunch of people and I forget it now, but there's something that somebody says in a chapter that I'm like, this is an absurd thing to have written in a book that was published. It's so dumb, and I wish I remembered it. It follows 2 POV characters, and it's set in the far future of the cosmos. This is fully space age, sci-fi book stuff. And one half of it feels like the show Firefly, which is great, and then the other half feels like some military book or novel or show where the military is coming in to colonize a place and they don't understand the locals and they underestimate it. That's a story trope you've seen, because it works effectively, and it works really effectively here. And Dusk, the main character on that one, phenomenal. Love Dusk. And I had read 6 of the Dusk when years ago when I was going through the Cosmere, and I had no attachment to Dusk. I thought he was fine. This book does a lot to make Dusk a great character. I really, really liked him. And Starling, the other character, is I like her, but the rough writing was definitely way more around Starling, and I think because Starling was more attached to the Cosmere, she's more Cosmere aware. She speaks more just I don't know, slang termish. Just I don't know. There's something needs to change about the way he characterizes people. I think he's going to lose some people in late stage that just can't deal with how he makes people think and speak. I think it was Jake recently was people need to stop thinking about their character arcs so much, and I totally agree. It's becoming insane, and somebody needs to call him on it. I don't think he's writing too fast again. This is the poor man. Maybe I do need to give you some of those nonfiction books because maybe you aren't smart. I'm just kidding, Ian. I love you, but no, I just think actually editing is the bigger problem. But I just think that he doesn't see it as a problem. I think that is more the problem, is that when he talks about what he thought the issues were of Wind and Truth, I agree with those being issues, but I also think nobody's talking to him about how he has people over-explain their emotions and character arcs and stuff. But he doesn't know about the modern word usage, so I don't know. Isles of the Emberdark was written before he got the feedback for Wind and Truth, so we will see going forward. And also the introduction, the first couple chapters of Fires of December is the best opening that I've ever read from Sanderson. I think, in terms of just the beginning of a book, banger. Really, really liked it. Didn't feel any clunky writing in it at all, and it hasn't even been fully edited yet. So maybe he is taking that into consideration. Yeah, Wind and Truth had some shoddy stuff. I just don't think this is the thing. I just really don't. We'll see. He's always written this fast. Yeah, I don't think he's written faster. I think he at Dragonsteel, or maybe it was Worldcon. At Worldcon this year, he said that he is taking back his time so that he doesn't feel the pressure all the time. I do think Wind and Truth, he felt a lot of pressure. I totally agree, and that impacted it. I don't see how that would have impacted Isles of the Emberdark because it was a secret project, but who knows? But now his books are going to be start scheduling 3 years out instead of a year out, because he's finally at a place where he feels like he can force that to happen. So we'll see. He's still my second favorite author. He's still great. You guys just are all haters, and I'm not. Yeah, again, I loved Wind and Truth. I can recognize something as a problem and just not have it bother me as much. And so when people were yeah, this really bothered me, I get it. It didn't tend to, but I was yeah, you're really, this needs to stop. Yes, I agree with you, Ben. I think he's not getting enough of the feedback about too much reflection since the prose complaints about individual words are what he's heard the most about. I agree. And I do think, so here's the thing. The individual word choices has actually changed a lot. That is something that he has used more modern speech. He has always had people think about their character arcs often, their reflections and stuff all the time. And Ben, you complain about this all the time. And I'm like, they're always been there. I've always noticed them. Like literally the first Sanderson book I ever read, I was like, this guy, he thinks out people's thoughts too much. It's just a thing he does. I remember when Sarah read Mistborn, that was her chief complaint. It's always been a thing that he's done. I think he's reached a critical threshold of like different things being annoying for people that bring them out and make them notice all of it. So maybe if he fixes the individual words, people will notice this less. It will, who knows? But I saw a lot more people complaining about this than the thoughts, even though I agree with both. You didn't get included in the haters camp. You didn't say anything. You defended him. I was just talking about Ian, Jordan, and Ben, and you know, we were one of the only non-haters. We had that stream, and then everybody was like, "Wow, you guys didn't hate the book, and you could just criticize it." Yes, yes, I could, focus on problems and then be like, but also I loved the book. And I agree. Ember Dark's writing is worse. Like I would for sure agree. Okay, enough about Sanderson. I could go on about that forever. Number 8. I don't have a physical copy for. Read it near the end of the year. Really good. Highly underrated. Is it? We'll see. By Blood, by Salt by J.L. Odom. This is the winner of the SPFDO 10. And I was going to read all 10. Well, I had already read some, but I was going to finish reading all 10 of the champions last year to see where my ranking fit in with the overall ranking from the judges. And I didn't finish. I have 3 left. And I think I will finish just because I was going to read 2 of those books anyway. So we'll see. But I read By Blood, by Salt for that. And I loved it. This book is great. I shouldn't say I was surprised. People that I really respect like this book a lot. And I knew that I would like it. But I didn't expect to like it. I think it's so subtle. The characterization is great. And I just love how it explores cultures. It's very low on magic. I don't even think there maybe is much magic at all. Maybe. And it's about this. So there's a battalion of troops that is like known for being the best troops in this empire. And they're being used as like a political bargaining chip between like, or not a bargaining chip, like a political maneuvering between the emperor and his brother, and like who controls this group. And in this group, there's the commander, and then there's this other guy who's the main character. His name is Zeltla, I think his name is. And Zeltla is a part of a group of people, like a race of people who are basically treated like trash. They're not allowed to own weapons. They're just like servants and slaves and stuff like that. And they're not allowed to hold rank or anything like that. And he is actually the second in command of this battalion secretly, because over time he had gotten the trust of the commander, and the commander realized how competent he was, and he run over some of the commander's like subordinates in there. So technically this guy has no rank, but when they're actually out in the field, everybody in the battalion knows that Azelta is like the second in command, and he like takes over and he like speaks for the captain and all this stuff. And so at the beginning of the book, the emperor's brother has to take this battalion to do a job. And so now they're having imperial oversight for the first time in a long time. And it's causing a lot of consternation because they can't like totally, like the command structure on paper is much different than the command structure literally. And so they're like, we can't really not let him know through actions that Azelta is like in charge mostly, or second in command. And so that kind of becomes this whole thing where they're like trying to figure out how to give him a like to not get this guy executed, but also not like compromise the structure of this battalion. And it has a lot of interesting things about culture and politics and just like subtle characterization about racism that I think is really interesting. Where like, you know, this guy, it would have been really easy to make this more black and white. I think that's what impresses me so much, is that they could have done it where like the character is the second in command and all of the battalion are just like fiercely loyal to him, and they've recognized him as one of the quote unquote good ones of whatever race it is, and they're just like, oh well, he's one of us. But that's just not reality. Like some of the commanders are for him, some of the men at arms are for him, some of them like are tepidly okay with it, and they're not going to cause problems, but they're not like super a fan, and some of them just outright hate him and they think that it's a problem, and they're like, I can't believe he's doing this. And letting this guy be our second in command. And even some of the people who support him, they're still like, the book is multi-POV, so you get a lot of POVs from like different people. And I love, there's this one small moment where one of his like close friends in the battalion actually sees him get a little bit of power for a second in action. And he has this moment of self-reflection where he realizes he's annoyed And he's annoyed because in theory, he's always been like, yeah, of course, like he's my friend and I want him to, you know, have power and rank and, you know, leadership roles. But then he actually sees it happening. And there's that part of him who gets, he's like, am I jealous about this? And like, why is this upsetting? And like, he has this whole like moment of inner reflection. And he's like, I don't think I actually came to terms with the fact that in my heart, to me, he was still just like one of those people that we don't give rank. So actually seeing the rank was jarring to him. And it was like all these like little things about that was so good and just so well handled and felt really real. And then also all the military stuff was interesting. Like the main plot was slow, but like building to an interesting thing. And Azelta is a great character. Really, really loved him. And like he is under so much pressure because he's also trying to keep a lot of things. He wants to prove his usefulness to the Emperor's brother, but also like his loyalty to the captain. And there's this whole other like situation that happens where they're going out into the desert to capture this like military target. And so they have to like also perform this task. And there's a whole other like side of politics brewing that has nothing to do with them, but the battalion is being used as a bargaining chip. And so they have to like position themselves smartly so the battalion doesn't get like basically just wiped out. Excellent book. Really liked how it ended. I actually started from the momentum of it. I started the second book just right away. And I read like 2 chapters of it. And I'm like, I'm going to go back. Like there was nothing wrong with the first 2 chapters. I just was like, I need to know what happens right away. And then I just kind of like, but yeah, excellent book. Really loved it. Also, I think the prose is gorgeous. Like really well written without being overwritten. Like it feels sparse, but also like just, I don't know, just like I always felt like the writing was really good without being in the way, if that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people in our sphere have really liked it, although it's like it has like 500 ratings on Goodreads, so it's not that many people know about it, and it's great. And it came in second. No, it came in third. It came in third of the like SPFBO Champion of Champions. Like Sword of Kaigen was first, deservedly, and then Orconomics, and then By Blood by Salt. I would have put By Blood by Salt second. But it was very good. Alex, I'm very confident you will really like this book. I also think Ian will like it, but sometimes Ian just goes off on his own, so we'll see. All right, that was a lot of talking for that one. So 1 second. My coffee is completely cold, which makes sense because this has been 2 hours now. Holy crap. All right, let's try to go a little faster. We only have 7 left, guys. We can do it. All right, 7 is Fever Dream by George R. Martin. Fever Dream is excellent. It's about steamboats. It's about vampires. It's a horror novel. It's great. It's signed by George R. Martin, which is great. He signed it very fast, and he signed it in a place in which I would have liked him to sign further down, but that's fine. It doesn't matter to me. Fever Dream is great. Really loved it. And this was the one I heard the most about out of George's like back catalog of novels, so I did expect to really like it, and I like vampire books and movies and stuff. It's like an interesting take on vampires. I really like the main characters, like Abner Marsh is like the steamboat captain, and then Joshua is like the guy that he brings onto his boat, and they like form a partnership where Abner Marsh builds a really giant steamboat called the Fever Dream that Joshua is also like part leader on, and he's like wants to be kept in the loop for any decisions, but he's going to leave the steamboat operating to Abner. And I think the relationship these two develop is really great. I really loved most of this book. Thought it was, I just don't really have the criticisms that I could have. Just great. Really liked it. You guys should read more George R. R. Martin besides Song of Ice and Fire because it's really good. And somebody who would like it is Ian, but he should read A Song of Ice and Fire first. And okay, we're going to get to number 6. Ian, this is for you, buddy. Number 6, I don't have a physical copy of. Actually, this is for Alex, too, because we talked about this today. The River is Waiting by Wally Lamb. This is a book that Ian gave me for our TBR swap. And I've read I Know This Much Is True by Wally Lamb for a previous... oh my God, you have the sub-press edition of Windhaven? If you don't like this book, sell it to me. I'm going to come rob you, except I actually won't because you're like 4 times my size. But that's awesome that you have that. It's a really beautiful book. I hope you love it. But yeah, so The River is Waiting by Wally Lamb. I read I Know This Much Is True last year for TBR Switch swap with Jake. I really liked it, but it just was like a lot of misery. Like it was just like really sad and just like a lot of just heavy emotion. And there was that whole like thing with like a person's relatives via letters that I thought was ham-fisted. I didn't love it as much as I wanted to, but I did think it was like a very good book. And I was on the fence about whether or not I was going to like it. or I was going to read more Wally Lamb until Ian gave me this. And The River is Waiting is absolutely phenomenal. I love this book. It is so, so, so good. The ending of this book, like, I was just like sitting in my car and I thought I had missed something. And so I was like, I have to go back. And I like pushed the audiobook back. And then I was like, no, I didn't miss anything. Just crazy shit is happening. And then I started to like tear up in my car. I was like, I can't do this right now. And so I like turned off the book and like went home and I reversed a little bit and I just sat in my house and let the book finish. And then I just like sat there for a while. I was like, holy crap. And I don't know how I feel about this. Like it really made me think about the goal of the book and the goal of, it just made me think about life and just like some circumstances that were, I can't even give you like a hint about what, because it would just make some stuff obvious. But the ending of the book is very powerful. The book follows a guy who is going through a rough time. He, I don't know how much I should say. It's early, but I still feel like, okay, so he is an alcoholic and he's in a relationship and his relationship's kind of falling apart. He's like a dad. And when he's drunk, something really bad happens that really changes the outcome of his life. And so he goes to jail. And the book is mostly following him in jail and his recovery process. So it's like, you know, he's trying to repair his relationship with his family while also like get clean and also like come to terms with what he did and why he did it and what's going on. And like, so he's in jail and he's like, you know, trying to become a better person, like learn more about himself and like deal with the various things going on in the prison as well. And I just like never wanted to not be reading it while I was reading it. Like I think it's an excellent character study. The prose is great. The book is very, very, very sad, but unlike I Know This Much Is True, it didn't feel like it was adding more and more sad things for the sake of being sad, which I'm sure isn't actually what Wally Lamb was doing in that book, but it felt like it. But I felt like all of the horrible things that happened in The River is Waiting just felt like the natural thing that would then happen. Really powerful book. Just, yeah, can't say enough good things about it. I'm actually surprised it's only 6, but you know what? The next 5 books are just bangers. So what are you gonna do? You know, it's just when you read bangers, you read bangers. Jake, I can't get into this right now. I'm 2 hours into this stream. I cannot do side rants. But if anybody watched my stream with Jake and Ian about this, or Ian and Jordan about this, it would be, you'll know what he's talking about here. Well, thank you for coming back and catching up at 2 times the speed. That's what I do all the time with people too. Okay, number 5, I don't have a physical copy of, and this was very surprising to me. It is Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke. So I read Rendezvous with Rama and what the hell is the other one that people really like by him? I'm blanking on it. 2001. And 2001 I liked. I didn't love it, but I liked it. And Rendezvous with Rama is fine. Like I don't get that one. Like, not like I don't get it, but like I don't understand the fascination with that one. It's fine. It is, they find an object in space and they send people that are all weird and don't make sense. They send these people to space and they look around and then the book ends. I'm like, that is not interesting to me at all. I do not understand it. And I only read Childhood's End because Jimmy gave it a really good review. And I was like, okay, if I read the 3rd big Arthur C. Clarke book, then I will be done with Arthur C. Clarke. Like I finished the ones that everybody talks about and we're good. And actually this book is incredibly interesting. It's so short and I never felt like I cannot believe how much is packed into this book. Like Childhood's End is great. I don't even know what to say about it because I do think that the experience of reading it is really good. Basically aliens come and then they're like, we're going to help you guys progress. And, you know, and then things happen. The characterization is not like the strong suit, like it's short and it's trying to tell you about ideas, but I just was fascinated the whole time. I thought the book was great. Also, as a side thing, my favorite video game of all time is StarCraft. Like I love StarCraft, and I played it when I was like 7 initially. So like StarCraft was like my introduction to sci-fi, and then like I started reading sci-fi, you know, as an adult. And so it's been interesting to me over time, like seeing the things that StarCraft clearly was built upon, like, you know, because everybody making it would have read all of these books that I didn't read. And so, like, you know, when I read Hyperion, I'm like, oh, one of the main guys in StarCraft, his ship is called the Hyperion. I'm like, that's clearly right. I mean, stuff like that. And Childhood's End maybe has the most DNA the StarCraft. Like, I just was like, oh my God, like this is somebody who made that game loved Childhood's End because there's a bunch of stuff. There's literally something called the Overmind. And I was like, oh, okay. So I love Childhood's End. I think it's fantastic. And it is definitely the like classic sci-fi book that I love the most. Like I don't even think it's close. Like every other classic sci-fi book from like the 50s, 60s, 70s that I've read has been like fine to good, and I thought Childhood Zen was phenomenal. It also read really well. Like it was very smooth. Really can't speak highly enough of it. Oh wow. How have you not ever told me this? I would have immediately read Codex Alera way faster. Yeah, StarCraft is my shit. I love it. Yeah, and then Ben also really loved Childhood Zen. Yeah, it's a great book. Pokemon plus Rome plus StarCraft, those are actually three of my favorite things on the planet, Jake. I cannot believe that you've been not helping me with this. Okay. Wow, Jake, you don't know me at all. You didn't know that I was a huge StarCraft fan? Like, I love StarCraft. I actually should play it again now that I'm talking about it. It's such a good game. I don't love StarCraft 2 as much. Like, I think the game modernized too much. Like, not too much, but it became a game of the 2010s, 2020s, but I just really liked what it was StarCraft 1 and Brood War more. So, but I also love the story of StarCraft. I've read all the StarCraft novels. Like, I don't mess around. I love StarCraft. Okay. Number 4 is, I have a physical copy, but it's upstairs because my wife just read it, and it is sitting on the couch. And it is I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. Again, complete surprise. Read it this year because the audiobook was short and people wouldn't shut up about it. And just listened to it. I listened to it like the first 10 minutes while I was getting ready for bed one night, and then the next day I just woke up and just listened to the whole book in a row. Just a phenomenal book. Like you don't need to know anything about it except that it's about 40 women living in a bunker. The world has ended somehow, and the narrator is the youngest of the group, the only one who doesn't remember life before this apocalyptic event happened. And you just kind of follow her perspective, learning about the world and people. And it's just this interesting meditation on what it means to be a person, what it means about community, what you do in the face of hopelessness. I just found it incredibly deep. I honestly was going to reread it in December, and I just haven't yet, but I really want to, because I was blown away by how much this book affected me. And this was my number 2 book for a long time, and then I kind of rearranged it a little, but man, and it's so short. It's like 210 pages. Yes, people are correct to not shut up about it, Jake. And here's the thing. Obviously, some people are not going to agree, but everybody that I know that has read this book that agrees with my taste at all has loved it. Jake, Jimmy, Joanna. There's lots of people, but I'm trying to think of people who made videos about it or talked about it publicly. Yeah, it's a good book. Highly recommend. And also, not that my wife's recommendation means anything to you folks, but it should because she's smart. But she read it, and she read it in a day. She was like, this is one of only 2 books I've ever read that I actually thought should be taught in schools because it's great. And there's a lot of really interesting stuff in it. I can't remember what the other one was. Oh, the other one was The Outsiders. And yeah, so book is great. It has my wife's recommendation as well. Yeah, it's funny because I almost chose this book for our university book club or our work book club, and I had just read it. My choice was in March, and I had just read it in January, and it was a little bit too far away to not reread it, but it was too soon for me to reread it. So I was maybe next time. But at the same time, somebody else at my work read it and then loved it, and then gave it to somebody else, and then they read it and loved it, and it has now went through literally the entire book club without it being a book club pick. And everybody, I think there's 12 people, and only one person didn't like it, and everybody else loved it. And I will say, actually, this is good for expectations. This is not a book about answers. If you go into this book expecting answers, you are going to be disappointed. It is not a book about answers. It's just a book about being a human being and exploring what that means. So the one person that I know that didn't like it, and other people that I've seen that didn't like it, it usually tends to be because they expected more answers about what's going on, and that's not what the book is interested in telling you. The book is interested in telling you about a person. Answers and plot are for nerds. That is so true. I will let her know because she'll appreciate that. She's been reading a lot, actually. She always reads a lot, but since she's been on mat leave, she has been I think she's technically been on mat leave for a week, but then she also had holidays. So in that 2 weeks ish time, she's finished 8 books. She's been just going to town on reading, which is awesome. Okay, we're on the top 3, folks. We gotta lock in here. The third one is a book I finished on New Year's Eve, once again, proving that you should not do this list until the year's over, unless you're weak, unless you have no courage, no confidence, no ability to trust yourself and your process to finish a book that you love with 3 hours to spare. And that book is Children of Earth and Sky by Guy Gavriel Kay. What is up, fam? With this book, I have decided that Guy Gavriel Kay is the man. And you might be like, hey, didn't you already think that? I did. But I reaffirmed it. And the reason I reaffirmed it is simply because nobody talks about Children of Earth and Sky. Jake, my man here, who lists books about how here's my best video I've ever made, is my GGK Where to Start video, which is true. It's a great video. You guys should go watch it. But even in that, he's like, Children of the Sky, whatever. Like, he's just like, it's good. But is it that good? It is that good. I can officially join the club with Ben calling Jake a hater because I like this book so much more than I expected to. I think it's fantastic. I love it so much. It's not one of my favorite Guy Gavriel Kay books, but like my favorite GGK books are like Untouched, like Lord of Emperors, Brightness Long Ago, Lion's Valorsan, for sure above it, and then Song for Abon. This might be fifth. I would have to think about my placement for Under Heaven. I think Under Heaven is maybe more consistently good, but I like the climax of this book more. I just thought the characters in this were great. I really liked how it explored like women's place in the world of like when they don't technically have power and like how they choose to find power for themselves. The female characters in this actually like were really, really good. Like I was thinking about getting my wife to read this one first, or like anybody who like hears things about GGK being like, all the sexy time author and stuff. And there was like, a couple brief sex scenes, but nothing crazy. But I think like later in his career, Guy Gavriel Kay writes very, very complex women that I think are great. And this book is like really interesting in all the facets of like, it's also right after Sarantium has fallen. So like in the timeline, like it's like fake Europe. So Constantinople is Sarantium. And so it's like 20-ish years after Sarantium has fallen, which would be real Constantinople. So it's been like taken over by the Ottoman Empire, which in this is like, I don't even remember what they're called, but the Asite Empire maybe or something like that. And about how all of these other like countries feel about losing Sarantium and how they didn't come to help. Like Sarantium was like, we're losing, we need you to help. Also, for anybody worried that I'm like spoiling the Sarantine Mosaic, because it's not. That's 1,000 years before. Like it has nothing to do except that it's the same city. And all these like city states and nations are like, we didn't help them, and now we don't have that anymore, and now we have to deal with the intruding invasions too. And it's kind of like how these like individuals, but also these societies are responding to that hole in the world, while also like, because Guy Gavriel Kay always focuses on the individuals. It's just like how individual people have been dealing with. And there's like, this woman who is like her family was taken from her, or her brother was taken from her as a kid, and most of her family was killed. And she's been spending her whole life like trying to get good enough to like kill some of the people that had taken her family. And then there's this other woman who's like tasked to be a spy. And there's this another plot line where this artist is being sent to what used to be Sarantium to do a painting of the caliph, so the guy who took over. And it's a great honor. Like nobody's ever in the West painted this guy, and he's like asking for somebody to paint him in a Western style. And this is gonna like make this artist's name, but it's like very dangerous because these two places are essentially at war, and some people want this artist to like assassinate this guy, but this artist is like, I just want to do a painting. Like I'm just here to paint. And so like his like loyalty to the West and his loyalty to the idea of Sarantium versus the fact that he's not there to fight. He's there. He's an artist. He wants to explore art. He wants to bring good into the world. He wants to explore. He's like fascinated with art and language and culture and stuff like that. I thought it was a really excellent book. It is slept on in GGK's vernacular. Just excellent. I loved it. So many good lines. There is a line in like what I love about Guy Gavriel Kay. It's like he will do a line. Like I'm going to tell you the line or like similar. I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm going to tell you what the line is, and you'll be like, that's fine, and it'll have no context. It's not a spoiler, but you'll be like, that's a fine line. But in the context of what's going on, it's just like, wow, that is so beautiful. And like there's like a point where he's just like, yeah, you know, there's different types of courage. And sometimes what people forget is that sometimes courage is just staying on your knees, or not dropping down to your knees, and instead standing on your feet in a moment in which you feel like you need to drop to your knees. And like obviously it's phrased, you know, more polite, like it's okay, but that doesn't sound like great insight. Like it's like, okay, yeah. But in that scene, I was floored. I was like, this is the most beautiful shit I've ever seen in my life. And just only Guy Gavriel can do that. I always leave his books feeling as if I like the world more. Like I'm like, wow, like there's a part in this book where like art is just so like moving, emotional to somebody, and I'm like, oh man. And I'm just like, man, just being a person, it's just incredible. Like I don't know what to tell you guys. Like the Guy Gavriel is so good in making me appreciate humanity and like culture, and he's just that good. Just so good. Yes, this was incredible. Most of the book is absolutely incredible. Bro has too many amazing books, not my fault. And yes, this book is more amazing than some of it's better than Last Light of the Sun. Do you agree? Okay. That's true. It doesn't. Okay, so here's the. This book made me think that like this is more of a series than it is, and they are also standalones. I don't want people to take that too seriously, but I do see now that like all like it's not that I didn't see it before, but I'm like, okay, the Sarantine Mosaic, Lions of Alderson, but a little bit less, Children of Earth and Sky, Brightness Long Ago, and All the Seas of the World, which I haven't read yet, but I assume, and then Written on the Dark. These all do fall like, I mean, it's all like shared history, and it's like they all take place at different times, apart from Children of Earth and Sky, Brightness Long Ago, and All the Seas of the World, which do kind of have like some characters in them that are similar. They're not like directly related. Like you don't have to read them, except I do think they add like Children of Earth and Sky is much better because I've read Sarantine Mosaic and I've read A Brightness Long Ago, and I just like you feel that weight of what's going on. And also there's like a through line that like I can't even say, but there's like a returning location in like several of these books that again, if you have not read the book in which it originates, it would mean nothing to you. Like it's fine, you just would move on. But it is returning to at several points in these books, and each time it gets more and more emotional, knowing what it is and what's going on with it. But this book, I will say, had like some really good stuff attached to like Sarantine Mosaic that I was like, oh man, I'm so glad that I read this after that. Under Heaven might be better. We'll see. I don't know. After Sarantine and Taigana, I would say Brightness Long Ago. Ben, you and I agree. Jake is a hater. Children of Earth and Sky is way too overlooked for how great it is. I don't remember what you have read, Jordan. Did you read Brightness Long Ago? If you read Brightness Long Ago, read Children of Earth and Sky next. Okay, I so clearly like Children of Earth and Sky more. So this is like definitely our disagreement here, which is, I mean, we both agree that he's great with most of his, but like it's fine. But I for sure like Children of Earth and Sky more than Last Light. Like it's not close to me. Yes, the return to that location in this book, and the return to that location is in several other books that I liked, but I think it was most effectively used here by a lot. Like I really liked all the stuff with that. So people are gonna be like, "What the hell are we talking about?" And you'll know if you read more Guy Gavriel, who is slept on. All right, guys, we're in the top 2. Do we have guesses about what number 2 is and what number 1 is? Because technically, this list is a sham. This is a sham list. I've lied to you guys this whole time. This is actually, all of those places I told you were actually one up from the other ones because the last 2 are tied. And they're tied for a specific reason. You're like, that's cheating. I'm like, I make the list. I'll do whatever the hell I want. And they're both number 1, and one is a star with an asterisk. And I'll explain that. Now, that's the most number 1. There's 2 number 1s. And I'll explain as I go along. But for all intents and purposes, you're both spot number 1. So just mentally add 1 number higher on the list for everybody else, and don't worry about math. That's what I'm telling you. So number 1 on this list, the best book I read this year in totality, is Windhaven by George R. Martin and Lisa Tuttle. But wait, you say, but wait, you already added a George R. R. Martin book, and you said you were doing one per author. I did not add a George R. R. Martin and Lisa Tuttle book. And you see, when authors collaborate, they write different things. They write different styles. And so I'm including it differently. I can do whatever I want. I feel like somebody, if they added a Daniel Abraham and a James S. A. Corey book on their list, that would be totally reasonable. So that's what I'm doing. They just didn't have a pen name. So Windhaven is great. Loved the crap out of it. Super, super good. Would like to reread it. Did not expect it to like it as much as I did. I also feel very vindicated that like most people that aren't named Jordan, when they read this book, they were like, "Oh yeah, this book's really good." And Jordan's just a pure hater all the time. But yeah, like I read this book right after Bookborn did, and then Jimmy also read it, and I think the three of us really loved it and talked about it a lot. And then like several other people have since read it, and most of them really liked it, which makes me happy because the Goodreads rating on this book is absurd. Windhaven follows a planet where, like when people came to space a long time ago, they crashed and they're all stuck on these like islands. Like it's all like an interlocking like island situation, and they use the spare parts from the ships to make metal wings. And so some of these people became flyers, and they would go to these islands and deliver messages and stuff. And that became like a caste society of like the people at the top were these flyers, and they would like hand down their wings to their like eldest son. And the book starts with Maris, who is adopted into a family who has a like pair of wings, and the son in that family wants to become a singer, and he doesn't want the wings, and Maris really wants to fly. Like she had been using the wings before the son was born, and then now once the son was born, they were like, "Oh, he's clearly going to be the one that gets the wings." And so she wants to change society because she thinks that the system is unfair and not merit based, and she also like loves her brother and wants to like let him follow his dreams. Funnily enough, this is just an aside. I read this book shortly after watching the movie Sinners, and while the movie Sinners is entirely different, I do find it very funny how similar they are in theme of like the idea that the family wants the son to follow in the footsteps of what they've been doing, and they think being a traveling musician is like the wrong choice, and all the son wants to do is play music and be like, "I don't care about what you want me to do. I want to play music." And I was like, yeah, Sinners is the GOAT, is what I'm saying. So anyway, yeah, Windhaven is like 3 separate novellas that were like kind of made together. Like I think the first 2 were written, and then they made the 3rd one and then just kind of put that together as a book. So it is a little disjointed, but I think it flows naturally. Like there's time jumps in between each like part, but I feel like it worked well for me, but mileage may vary on that. And I think that the way society changes and the way the characters change, but also like the way Maris, the main character, like her perspective shifts over time, and like I just thought it was incredible. And also, I feel like pointing out, because it's been helpful for some people, if you are somebody who has bounced off of or been worried about trying A Song of Ice and Fire or George R. R. Martin in general because you feel like it's too like violent or too graphic or too sexual, Windhaven is entirely clean. It has no graphic sex or body descriptions, or I mean, it's not really violent either. So it would be a really good place to try him if you wanted to just like experience his writing without worrying about any of that. So that is number 1 spot, part 1. And the number 1 spot, part 2, is easy to guess, is As Fate, otherwise known as Assassin's Fate by Robin Hobb. Now, why is this number 1.1? Because I read most of this book in 2024. I wanted to finish it on New Year's Eve of 2024, and I was just too tired, and I just couldn't. There was like 300 pages left. I couldn't do it. And then January 1st, I think I wasn't very feeling good, so I didn't read that much. And then so I just like banged out the last like 80 to 100 pages on January 2nd. And the thing is I feel like for a 1,000-page book, if you read 900-ish pages of it the previous year, it mostly counts for the previous year. But I hadn't finished it then. I could not add it to my list, and there's no way that Assassin's Fate, which is one of my all-time favorite books, cannot make a list somewhere, so it has to be at the top of this list. Like it just can't not. But I also feel that's unfair representatively of the books I actually read fully this year. So that's why, as far as I'm concerned, books that I read in 2025, Windhaven is the best. But there's that weird bridged gap time, and that's where Assassin's Fate lies. And Assassin's Fate is like my 3rd or 4th favorite book of all time. The ending of Assassin's Fate is the best thing ever. I can't even explain. Like people explain book hangovers to me, and I'm like, yeah, sure, okay, I guess I kind of get it, but I don't really get them. Like I finish a book, even if it's really good, like I'll just like move on to the next book, and like maybe later I'll think about how much I like that book. But Assassin's Fate ending gave me a book hangover, like a real, bona fide, genuine book hangover. I didn't want to read anything. I didn't like stuff after I. It is the best ending to anything I've ever read. Period. Like not. That's not hyperbolic. It is the best ending I have read to any book. The best ending of TV, movies, anything. It is the best ending I've ever experienced. I just don't even know. It's actually unfair because I do think the book is maybe bloated a little. Like I could see some of the stuff in the middle. Like I've heard criticisms of people being like, "Oh yeah, it's kind of repetitive of like Fool's Quest," and I'm like, "Okay, I could see that. Like that seems valid to me." I just think so much about the stuff that happens at the end that like none of that matters to me, which is like, I mean, it's my experience, so it doesn't have to matter to me. But I'm saying there are like things that I could maybe change about this book to like make it like slightly more cohesive or like slightly faster paced, like not even faster paced, but just like I feel like there was some parts in the middle that I'm like, okay, did we need all of this? But none of that matters because the ending is so cathartic, so incredibly good. I was like getting to the end, and it was actually like I was crying so much that like my face hurt. Like I was trying, like my eyes were mad that I wasn't just stopping the book and just like reading, like crying. Like I was like, it was like stop. And I would like read a little bit and like wipe my eyes and then read a little bit and then wipe my eyes like 5 times a page. Like I was like, I was like built up. I was like, I need to cry. I was like, I'm gonna finish this book. I finished the book and I closed it. And I just like I literally wept. Lots of books make me cry. Very few make me weep. Like I think there's like 2 or 3. Like I was unconsolable. But it wasn't even like because it's sad that people were like, oh yeah, Robin Hobb rips your heart out. Like sure, it's like technically sad, but it's perfect. That's what it is. It's perfect. Everything about it is perfect. I'm like, this is the exact thing. And even like, so okay, obviously without spoilers, there's a central relationship to the series, which is Fitz and the Fool. And that's not a spoiler because the trilogy is called Fitz and the Fool. So like, come on. That's a central relationship that I've never fully bought into. Like for 9 books, I've just been like, I just don't see what people see in this relationship. I still don't. I finished the series. I'm about to say what I'm about to say, and I still do not get the love that people have for these 2 characters, like as people that relate to each other. I just don't get it. But the ending of this book, I was like, I get it. Like I see the vision, and it was exactly what it needs to be in every respect. Truly perfect ending, and I'll never get that again. I mean, you never say never, but I think I'm going to say never. I think I will never get an ending as good as Assassin's Fate again. And it just makes me sad that it's over, but like also that it's like, what a journey. Like what a journey. And that's just that's the story, guys. Robin Hobb, just absolutely incredible. This is you recommending Windhaven to your mom. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Like I don't know your mom's taste that well, but the things you've told me she liked, I feel like that's also right. Fool's Assassin is also excellent. I think that's a reasonable take, for sure. Okay, guys. That was a very long stream. I can't believe I talked that long and didn't get tired. Just goes to show how many good books there are, guys. Okay, if you made it this far, comment below with like a book emoji or your favorite book of the year or something like that. And thank you all for coming on this journey with me and, being around and, people that were in the chat and watching after the fact. And, I know that someone could have done this list A, shorter, or B, in less than 2.5 hours. But, streams are fun, and then I don't have to edit. And it's just what I like to do. So sorry it was just so long, but I hope we all had fun. I had fun. And it was good to just like sit around and talk about books for a while and rag on Ben and Jordan for having bad takes. And 2026, I'll just talk briefly about some stuff I have planned. I am going to be reading less clearly because I'm having a baby. 7 Surrenders I read in 2024, Jake. I would not have put most of these books over 7 Surrenders. Maybe not most. I don't know if it would have made the top 10 for me, but it would have made the top 15 for sure. But no, it was 2024. It made my list 2024. I just didn't make a video, Jake, so I'll send you the list. I'm going to read less in 2026 for sure. But how much I read remains to be seen. Obviously, life is a big transition. I'm not making bets. I also like booked too many buddy reads. Like, it's absurd. I don't know why I did this. I mean, obviously, buddy reads are flexible. Like, if I'm like, hey guys, I can't do it, it'll be fine. But I did book myself for a lot of buddy reads this year, and I'm very excited about them. I do think it'll be a bigger historical fiction year than previously. I have a ton of historical fiction books that I really want to get to and read. And like, you can't see it over here, but this shelf right over here is pretty much all historical fiction. And the problem is, there's a lot of historical fiction books that I want to read, and I'm pretty sure I'll read it once and then be like, that was a good book, and then I'll never feel like reading it again because it's just like a time period I want to explore or something like that, or like an action adventure novel set in ancient Greece or whatever. And I would like to get rid of some of those books. Like, so I really want to read down that shelf a little, because I'm like, there's so many of them that I'm like, I will read and be like, that was a good 4-star book, or maybe even 4.5, and then I can just donate it and then have more space. That would be fantastic, because I'm more likely to keep fantasy books because of the rereadability. I'm less likely to keep historical fiction books. So I really want to prioritize that this year, is reading some of my historical fiction backlog. I'm also going to prioritize rereads, because I think that when you're tired and stressed and busy, rereads are easier to get in and out of, and they're like more comforting. I'm going to reread Harry Potter through the like audio, the new like Audible ones. I'm going to continue my Realm of the Other Things reread. I'm rereading A Song of Ice and Fire. I think I'm going to hop on to Alan's Gentleman Bastards reread, because I do feel like we will be getting the 4th book there. Maybe not in 2026, but I think we're working our way up to a release date there. I am going to be doing the live shows for Philip Chase's Serentine Mosaic live shows. So big thanks to Philip for allowing me to do that and talk about Serentine Mosaic. So I will be rereading that before those live shows. Lots of rereads. I have to finish rereading Dresden. I will not make the new Dresden release date, but I'm definitely going to finish. I'm going to finish rereading Sun Eater so I can read Shadows Upon Time. So lots of rereading this year. Less exciting in that way, but I do love rereads, and I feel like making time for them is sometimes hard. And so I think this would be maybe the year in which rereads would be ideal. I'm also going to reread a couple of the Dungeon Crawler books physically, and maybe reread Lord of the Rings. It's been a few years. Lord of the Rings is tight, and maybe I'll laugh at Ben for finally loving it. Maybe next year will be a top 25. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. No, Seven Surrenders would have made the top 30. That's insane. I see why you were confused. No, it definitely made my list in 2024. I'll find it after this. Yeah, so we will see where it goes. I know that Jake and I are buddy reading some Charles DeLint books. We don't currently have live shows planned for those, but maybe if we really love them, we'll do one just to like get more people on the Charles DeLint train. Ben and I have some buddy reads going here. We're going to read some historical fiction, and we're going to read Lycanius by James Allington, but he's going to DNF 20% into book 2 because he doesn't like modern fantasy anymore. So he's going to read all of the first book and be like, this is like a really interesting start, but like something about like I just couldn't get immersed. Like, I just like there's just like these turns of phrases. Like I just couldn't, I just like kept thinking about how like the characters thoughts, and like there's a woman character and she like had some feelings, and I just and then the male characters have feelings, and I just like it was a promising start. There was a lot of good things, but I just don't know. And then he's like, but maybe the second book, and then he's gonna get 20% in the second book and be like, actually, this author's garbage. I just, it's just not as good as 1990s fantasy. So that's what I bet is going to happen with me and Ben when we read Lycanius. I hope so. I'm really excited for it. I don't think I'm going to like it as much as Will of the Many, but I might like it more than Strength of the Few. We shall see. You can send Philip a strongly worded letter. I did be like, Jake can't join. Like, he's banished. Thank you, Anita. Ben is one of my favorite people, and one of the things I love about him the most is how good he is at being cool with being made fun of, which is why I do it so much. But Ben is incredibly awesome, incredibly kind, and a very good reader who is in a bit of a slump right now because he's in a transitionary period where Guy Gabriel Kay changed his world, and now he likes different types of books, but intellectually he still thinks he likes trashy modern books. And so he's in that disconnect space. But we're going to get him on the right track. But we're going to do it by a lot of bullying. So I just want you guys to know that. Yes, you can give me the strongly worded letter. Yeah, I think that's all I have, guys. It was good hanging out. And I should probably go eat some food and drink some more water. And no, he did those on audio. He did DCC on audio. Like, that doesn't count. Audiobooks can still be fun. So, all right, guys. Thank you all for hanging out. Everybody's cool, and see you guys later. Oh, sorry, I actually did have one more thing, which is that I'm bringing back Kyle's Corner. It kind of fell by the wayside last year because I wanted to do the George R. R. Martin read along, and I scheduling, like, I work 2 jobs and just do a whole bunch of stuff, and just scheduling them can be stressful because, you know, I just don't. Actually, I am now on ADHD medication, which is awesome, and it makes my executive functioning a lot better. So I actually think that I'm much better at scheduling things now than I was when I last was doing Kyle's Corner. And so I think I might be able to get ahead of actually just like scheduling those more consistently. And my schedule doesn't change much, except for, yeah, I mean, with the baby, I know, like, everything is tantamount to the baby changing things. Like, I know that. But my work schedule is the same every week now, which has not happened in years and years and years and years. So I might be able to, like, get a relatively consistent time space locked down for that. We'll see. But I do want to at least do one every once in a while and, like, get myself talking to people. And it's like, it's good for me to talk about books, and, like, there's nobody in my life that I talk about books with, like, on here. So I have the next Kyle's Corner tentatively scheduled. I won't announce the date yet just in case it changes, but it will be with Taylor from Made Me on the Pages, Madison Goodyear, and Scott the Bald Booktuber. We are going to be doing, like, a kind of like a returning vets booktube live stream kind of thing, where, like, all 4 of us are kind of making our slow returns back into the sphere. And I think that'll be a lot of fun. I'm really glad Scott's back. I'm really glad Madison's back. And of course, I'm glad that Taylor is back too. So that'll be this month, but I'll announce the date as soon as I confirm it with everybody. But other than that, farewell everybody for real this time. Have a nice day, and keep turning those pages, as Jimmy would say. And I will not use again, or will I? Maybe I'll just steal from Jimmy. We'll see. Bye, guys.